Okay, all right, all right, all right, all right. Whoa, I'm short. Short Mexican on stream. Here, here we, where are we? Where are we? Where are we? I appreciate y'all being here. Hold on, hold on. Let me get up there real quick. Give me one sec. Give me one sec. What happened? What happened here? All right, here you are. That's so funny. Oh, worse, better. Yeah, that's fine. All right. ¿Cómo andamos? ¿Cómo andamos? Hope you're all doing well. A little bit later. Also, let me know what you feel about the start time. I'd rather two, but again, LA traffic is no joke. Sometimes I won't be able to stream in the mornings, not because of my lack of time management skills or because I'm running on CPT, but I had some union business to take care of this morning. And again, the frustration whenever I am told that I am not practical enough, whenever, the accusations of you're not being realistic, is I'm in these spaces not as much as I should be, although should we even be in these spaces? There's the questions. Sometimes I have to bite my tongue and show up and try and participate to the best of my abilities, or to the extent that I'm comfortable to do so, but at the very least to show up. And it's always rewarding, not because this is any type of revolutionary action, not because this is, in all honesty, the most effective method. It is very practical work. And regardless of my criticism, I do appreciate the people that lead and organize this, because they are trying to do the best that they can within the confines of the bullshit, if we're being honest. So I don't think that these are I don't think these are people that have ill intent. At least I haven't ran into them, or at least maybe they've done a good enough job, well enough job to hide that from me, and I'm too naive. Who knows? But everything I've seen is organizers trying to do the best for and by the people they represent. And what I do find beautiful and sometimes a little heartbreaking is that the people that show up the most are older people. Our older people are predominantly Spanish speaking people. I can't say much, but again, like today, like just meeting someone um, higher in age, physical disabilities, and beautiful brown skin. And he was a tocayo. You know what I mean? If you know what that means, you know what that means. But that was kind of surreal a little bit, to, be a little grumpy, to a little bit of a Grinch, to be doing something so, I don't know, the word is futile. It's just knowing, especially being out here in LA, in the LA area, because I don't claim LA, I can't. Knowing that I mean, man, we're so captured, but knowing that the reason that unions, and this is my personal opinion, this is my personal statements, I am not speaking on behalf of any union, I'm not speaking on behalf of anything or anyone else other than myself, but knowing that unions got defanged to such a point because of FDR, that even when they essentially, I can't, I was gonna say grovel, but let's say compromise, or willing to settle for the bare minimum, even that is not accepted. Even that is not, sufficiently enough. Even, excuse me, even that is demanding too much. And it's really difficult not to stop and think, wow, even these meager demands, they will fight us on every single time, for two reasons. One, to make it seem, when they do capitulate, when they do compromise, to make it seem like we fought for something extraordinary, and for us to be able to lick our wounds and say, hey, we got something. and remain in this mental state of suppression, of low expectations, of celebrating not even small victories, celebrating, legitimate crumbs, distractions, illusions of progress. And the other is to make sure that, understand that we will fight you tooth and nail every single time because we want to keep taking and taking and taking and taking from you. Right? So it's both the illusion of a victory and the reality of saying, we will make you fight for crumbs and we will take those crumbs from you. And how am I not supposed to get radicalized, being in these environments and seeing that? And seeing hardworking people, elderly people that should, in a fair society, be retired and not have to worry about work unless they want to work. Seeing that, seeing people whose bodies, have broken down through years of labor or have disabilities to begin with, and being pushed to that brink of physical failure because there are no true, assistance for them. And that shit's heartbreaking. And again, I gotta be broad sometimes. But to pray that capitalists will find it in their hearts to give a damn about us, to give a damn about them. It is so whatever hope anyone may have in the system and bureaucracy, that should be shattered completely. That should be shattered completely. So while I'm willing to show up, and I will even say that I don't do enough, I can't separate that thought process within me. I can't help but to get angry in the desperation and how it feels like we're standing up for ourselves. But that's only because we're barely getting used to, we're bragging about being on our knees when we've been laid out this entire time because of liberals betraying it, true radical socialists, communists, and anarchists. Because liberals aligned with fascists, with reactionaries to purge unions. And yes, unions do not solve the primary contradiction of settler colonialism, with no question about that. In fact, quite often after these purges, and sometimes very much alongside or prior, to these purges, unions have not done the best in keeping an international lens and showing international solidarity. That doesn't mean they can't be useful tools at some point. Look, I say it, I can be a hater, but I'm honest. I remember a lot of people gave pushback to Bad Empanada for that union video that he did. Now, again, I don't really consume a lot of his work, but I decided to give that a look. And I was like, yeah, I don't think he said anything wrong. And I have to remind people sometimes is the job of a union is to represent its union members, right? That's just basic fact. The same way that, the job of a board in a corporation is to increase profits for their shareholders. It's that simple. It's not a complicated thing. We shouldn't get emotional over it. However, we should, if we are going to invest time in unions, we should try and push an international perspective, international approach to say, hey, sure, we might be this union, but it's all interconnected. All labor is interconnected. Do I think that's a worthwhile effort? I don't know. But I'm also not an adventurous. I'm also not under a delusion or illusion that there's a vanguard party and there's somewhere else that we could better be, putting our efforts into. It's something that is available to me. I'm paying union dues to begin with. So if I could in some way change the culture in that space, I will do my best. It might be a futile effort, but I'd rather die fucking, you know, doggy paddling in the middle of the fucking ocean than to give up. I haven't swam in a while. I have gone to the beach. I think last summer was the most proactive beach going I've had. Um, there's a rich history of a weird relationship with, quote unquote Chicanos, Mexican Americans, and the beach. Um, but yeah, this last summer I decided I was gonna make the effort to go to the beach more and even out that tan because right now I don't know what's going on with the light. It's going back and forth. I'm looking like pale as hell, pale as hell. But I had to even out the fucking tan, bro, because that shit was looking gnarly. Like fucking 3 different people. All right, I will say, excuse me. Normally I'm on stream, but normally I eat fruit with my goddamn bare hands. Ensalada de frutas, just like that. But I don't want to be off-putting to the cameras. Shout out to all, the Central American relatives that still eat pupusas with their bare hands. That's the way it should be done. Unfortunately, the Americanization process and the way I was introduced to pupusas, you're at a restaurant, knife and fork. But shout out to all those that still eat with their hands. It's a beautiful thing. It adds a little bit of sazon. All right. Thank y'all for hearing my ramblings. Again, it's not to brag. It's not to say I'm doing anything exceptional. It's to remind everyone that sometimes it does feel futile, and it may be, but it's better than sitting on your ass. Believe me, it's better than sitting on your ass. Because if you could just learn one thing, or at the very least, connect with people in real life, I think you might be able to bring something to the table when a real vanguard movement occurs. Hopefully, and that might be part of the delusion as well. I don't know. Look, I don't know. First of all, Mexican background. I don't. I'm not trying to disrespect pupusas or these Latin American dishes. This is moving too much. It's unsettling. It's pissing me off. Okay. To the surprise of no one, I don't put that much. I do not put that much on. I actually prefer ensalada de frutas natural. A little bit of salt, maybe a little bit of lime, then that's it. I love the taste of fruit itself. Um, but it's been a weird day. I haven't had lunch. It's 3. I had a late breakfast. Had to be out in LA really early and traffic is horrid. So on the way back, I decided to pick up. You gotta know. You gotta know your guys. You gotta know. Your the homies. Holding up the puestos. And this one was different. He was. I didn't know this guy because I've known these people for quite a while, and it's usually 2 brothers, and they alternate. I met their son once or twice. Great people. But this one, unrelated to them. So that was interesting. Beautiful eyes. And beautiful eyes. I don't know him well enough to have mentioned it. But we're joking around because I usually ask for the lime on the side. Because I throw it in the freezer and I eat it later. And the acidity cooks anything really. So, and it's bad enough with the pineapple. And I don't know if he forgot, whatever. And he just put it on top, which I said it's fine, doesn't matter. But I told him, I'm like, yeah, it's just for later, and I don't want it to get, I don't want it to be cooking it up. And I always share the story of relative family member who we're at a Chinese buffet, and he put some shrimp and a bunch of lime juice. You know, squeeze a bunch of them and just let it sit there by the table for a while. And one of the servers, Chinese man, Asian man, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know if they just put the label Chinese buffet and then it just hire. If you're Asian, it works out. Americans want the branding. Boom. So I don't know. Comes over and he's like, what are you doing?" It's like, "Oh, we need these later." I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Well, I'm cooking the shrimp in the acidity of the lime." And he goes, "Can't do that." He goes, "No, yeah, we do that all the time, you know." Uh, oh, why am I blanking out? And Suhugo, wow, I literally had it right now. So remind me of the name chat. Anyway, let me wrap up the story so we can get into the stream. Um, it's not camarón en su jugo, camarón enchilado. Why am I blanking out? Anywho, and so he offers him some. He's like, "You want some? They'll be ready in a little bit." And the guy's like, "No, no, no, no." But it kind of made me laugh, like kind of like having. You could have had like a cultural exchange moment there, but you didn't. But I understand, you know, why you would hesitate. But it also kind of reminded me of like the first time you really engage with sushi, where you're like, "Oh, it's raw." Like, anywho, I'm rambling. Let's get to it. Um, but I tell this story. I tell the story to the guy in the fruit stand, and he I'm telling him the story about, you know, the is it camarones enchilados? Why am I fucking blanking out? But it's basically a bunch of shrimp. I guess you could, yeah, some onion, a bunch of fucking salsa, some cucumber, and what's happening right now. And I noticed that the guy kind of goes, right, as I'm telling the story, because I'm like, oh, explain, you know, what dishes you could use it with. He knew, but I was saying that it was explained to the server, and he does that. The guy I'm telling the story to, and I point at him. I'm like, ah, I see you. Se te antojó. Why am I having trouble saying se? Damn, se me trabó la lengua. Sí, camarones agados. Really? Ahogados? Really? Camarones ahogados. Really? Why was I thinking enchilados? Ahogados, enchilados. A little bit. Says te antojó. I don't know what's having trouble like getting that shit out. Um, and he's like, he shook his head. He's like, yeah, se me hizo agua la boca. Uh, that is fucking hilarious. Vagabond. Let's see. No, not vagabond. Excuse me. A new plastic idea. Okay, my best friend is Mexican, and I met her online first. So the first time we met in real life, I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Putting lime on vegan Thai food? Put that shit on everything, bro." Aguachiles. Yes. Aguachiles. Yes. Thank you so much. Um, but I do know that, you know, the same dish may have a different name or a slight variation, but they're essentially the same thing depending on the region you're at. Again, I don't know if I shared this, but I'll share it now. When when you come from one of these border towns, you kind of everything gets mixed up. Um, but yes, we put lime on everything. It's, I mean, the old school people used to like carry on their own like jalapenos, and supposedly, you know, the trick is that if you like, and then you talk shit to it and curse it out, it's gonna come out spicier, right? Yeah. So they say it's como ceviche. Yeah, it's like ceviche, but it's supposed to be like spicy. You need that shit spicy. Maybe if it's your thing, you know, you consume a cold beer with it in a hot summer day. I don't really engage with a lot of seafood anymore, but every now and then I'll have the craving. I haven't had oysters in a while. They're just really unhealthy, but God, you know, I used to get boxes of oysters. Rarely happened like twice, but still, in my head, it happened consistently. I was young. boxes of oysters and just start. What is that? What's that salsa? It's like the perico. It goes great with seafood. I'm horrible with names, but yes. All right. What are we doing? What are we doing today? A little bit later. Usually this is around the time I start wrapping up, allegedly. The lighting is all over the place today. My apologies. I don't know how much I can do to change that. I think this over here is being weird. It is what it is. All right. Let's get to it. I appreciate y'all being here today. What are we gonna do? We got some things lined up. I was like, I don't know about the thumbnail, but that shit made me laugh, man. This is a fucking joke. This is so fucking pathetic. God damn, bro. I hate that everything's automated. Yeah, I can't. Sorry about that, bro. I don't even know if I want to do this right now because it's pissing me off. Anywho. Some union stuff, some non-union stuff. Suddenly nobody wants to fucking answer my calls, which is hilarious. But it is what it is. All right. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Fuck, sorry. Bro, like I apologize for this, chat. I apologize for this. Give me 1 second just to fix this. And it's funny because it's supposed to be like a cool thing that we kind of got invited to. I can't make it. Recording secretary can't make it. President can't make it. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Let's reach out to some members that have shown up and lend a hand. Nobody responds to me, which is funny because I don't really hit people up unless it's like important. Because I don't like bothering people. I really don't like bothering people because I don't want to be bothered. So, that shit makes me laugh. Let's see. So I'm trying to talk through this and not say anything dumb. Yeah, this is not gonna. And then what made me laugh is that homeboy over here, my dog, was like, last minute he's like, "Oh, I want to be in the room with you," and I'm just like, "All right, that's fine, but now I need to go grab your stuff so you can be comfortable." Okay, I'm gonna just try doing this, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Here we go. Let me see. Bro, like, why do you do this? Why are you doing this to me? Okay, yeah, okay. And it doesn't. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. My apologies. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. Sometimes all you can do is try. And you gotta I'm not a micromanager type of person. I put up a call. People don't want to take advantage of it. That's fine. That's cool. Don't complain later that nobody's looking out or there's nothing fun to do. I'm like, here's a fun thing to do. I would love to have participated in this. I just had previous plans and it was kind of last minute. All right. But enough of that. I'm sorry. I hate that I have to be vague sometimes, but I'm just trying to I always have trouble with that word. It's not just Spanish words. It's every fucking language that I know. Don't need to compartmentalize. I only really was able to understand that word because apartment. Somebody broke it down. It's like apartment, fool. And I'm like, oh yeah, compartmentalize. Yeah, but I definitely don't have a fucking speech impediment. All right, all right, all right. Let's focus up. Let's focus up. What did I want to cover? Okay. By the way, I love that. I don't know if y'all noticed on Twitter. This made me laugh. I don't know why it suddenly got popular again, but let's see. I don't understand why it got popular again. I'm glad it did. Mamdani. See, this is put out on December 1st. When we covered this, it's like 2 months old, and I appreciate it. I'm glad.
I wonder if you're reluctant.
Jesus, that's loud. Sorry. Is that louder for y'all? Okay, here we go.
Reluctant to call them dictators in Cuba and Venezuela.
I'm not reluctant. I just haven't thought about them that often. I'll be honest with you. I think that Maduro's government is one of repression. There's no question about it. And I think
it's in Cuba.
Sorry?
And also it's happening in Cuba since 1959.
And I think that the repression that, whether we're speaking about Cuban New Yorkers or Venezuelan New Yorkers, that they have had to live through is a repression that stands in a clear contrast from what our vision is.
I wonder if you're reluctant to call them dictators in Cuba and Venezuela.
I'm not reluctant. I just haven't thought about them that often. I'll be.
Bro, the jicama, so good. If you haven't had jicama, get jicama. You got to try it. It's so refreshing, especially during the summer. But this idea that I haven't really thought about them. Homie, and I'm going to add, so I'm working on the, it's weird to say curriculum. It's weird to say curriculum. And I forgot about this until this very moment. But I'm working on the books that we're going to read and what order we're going to read for the Discord. And we're going to have like a weekly, chapter section review. And we're going to get through some books. And I've been saying that I think that the so-called Western left, or whatever the fuck you want to call this, should be rooted in the Haitian Revolution. We too often glorify, the Russian, the Bolshevik Revolution. When we had, I think, historically the most important revolution, right here in the Caribbean. But I think that anti-blackness is the reason that we don't prioritize it as it should be. So that is, where I want to start from and to kind of expand from there. And I did want to, so, okay. I'm all over the place. My apologies. When I came up with the tiers for the Patreon, two things happened. One, I was allowing myself to be influenced by other people's tiers a little too much. And it was when Bad Empanadas people were threatening to find my ex's. Okay, bro, I don't know what you think I'm up to. But I am too antisocial to be getting into that much trouble, believe me. I like the sound of silence more than anything. And so yeah, it's not a long list, let me tell you. And I'm indifferent about that, but I was kind of like, damn, these fools are really gonna take it that far, because I criticized their cult leader and his minimizing of white supremacy, and the fact that he tries to downplay the fact that he hasn't benefited from both white supremacy and Western imperialism because he's not in the belly of the beast. It's like, bro, how do you think you made it to before Argentina to Australia and then to Argentina? What do you think gave you the ability to move around like that? It's Western imperialism. You have benefited seemingly your entire life from not just white supremacy, but Western imperialism, and you want to point the finger at everyone else. Like, what the fuck's going on here? This is kind of weird. And I'm sure he's doing a lot to combat Mel. But anyhow, that's not the point. So when his cult started threatening to contact people in my life, this and that, I was like, damn, we're jumping to that already. Cool. And I'm like, nah, I don't want them flooding the Discord, this and that. Who gives a fuck? Thankfully, people reached out and said, hey, maybe you could do this, certain things to try to mitigate that. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. It's just a little bit time consuming, but I'll do it because I want to make sure that we have a cool space where we could all, bash on libs and white people and and be in community and what have you. So that's to say that I'm moving the Discord to a $2 tier, because it's even, like I said, it's even weird for me to have Patreon, and I allowed everything to cloud my judgment, and I don't want to like price people out. Like if you're supporting me, I want to give something in return. It wasn't sitting right with me. And so because of that, so the $2, everyone that's supporting the Patreon $2 tier, you're gonna have access to the Discord, and my sincere apologies for not having that to begin with. I understand that some people are like, yeah, $2 to support like me jumping on stream or whatnot. If before Patreon, before monetizing the channel, I was still doing that, I'm gonna still do it regardless. This is just me enjoying myself. So $2, like, it just didn't sit right with me that I wasn't giving anything in return. And I'm like, the Discord, like, just let's get that shit busy. Let's get it moving. And I'll so I'm gonna move the Discord tier to the $2. And to the $5 ones, if y'all look, I'll mention whoever feels comfortable with it, because I've been told not to, certain people, included in the videos and the post-credit stuff, and just thank you. Or I feel weird about the categories, but because it's a monetary thing, right? I never want to exclude somebody because of a monetary thing. But that's just I don't know, like, do I make every tier the same? Do I go full commie with it? I don't know. I'm still trying to get comfortable with this. So I appreciate and thank you for your patience and understanding, and know that I'm not trying to be like malicious or money hungry with it. I'm just trying to figure it out. And it's uncomfortable. That's the reality. It's uncomfortable. So yeah, so I'm gonna move and have more people get involved in Discord. It can only be a positive thing. And if there are kind of creeps, bad empanada spies or what have you, que se chinguen los cabrones, and we'll boot them. They're like weeds, they'll be out of there. Yeah. I mean, Discord isn't for everybody. It wasn't really for me. Funny enough, I don't know if they're still around. There's at this point, like, I mean, they were young when they first started up, but there was this young black creator named Scorpio or Scorpion, and there was another individual that they would always like team up with, and I can't remember their name because it was like a Japanese name, but he was also black, but it was a Japanese name. And man, we had such a, Scorpio was cool, but with this other individual, we had such a great conversation, and it was recorded, or should have been recorded, and some for whatever reason YouTube pulled it while we were live, and we were having such a great conversation. That's basically the only other time I really used Discord like that prior to this. The other time was just coordinating some stuff with other like a Twitch streamer. But all right. Here we go. So I saw this white supremacist. SDO was a white supremacist. A not so crypto fascist, crying that the clip is 2 months old. As if Mamdani came out and said anything against his statement, walked it back. He's known to walk back a lot of statements. So I'm glad that we cover this, but I'm really glad when it happened, I'm really glad that it's making the rounds again. And actually, let me see. this weirdo, and I say weirdo because it's like, bro, you're so inconsistent, it's annoying. When he was spreading conspiracy theories about COVID-19, it was so fucking frustrating. You know, there's a list of complaints of Max Blumenthal. I really do believe he's a limited hangout. But I'm like, damn, man, I wish I could support you a little bit more or root for you when you confront people like Jorge Ramos, because he's George Ramos to me. But it's difficult to do so when you know that Max is just a weird opportunist. But let's go ahead and listen to this.
Mr. Ramos,
let me finish a couple of questions in English.
any plans to confront Marco Rubio about his threat to kill Nicolas Maduro by posting pictures of him and Gaddafi? Any plans to confront Marco Rubio about his threats of military invasion, or to confront Donald Trump about the sanctions on Venezuela?
What I can tell you is that many people here in the United States supporting what we were doing, and that Marco Rubio, Vice President Pence, and many others were supporting what we were doing over there.
So you were acting on their behalf and you're accepting their support. No
Absolutely
plans to
not.
confront Marco Rubio on calling for the murder of Nicolas Maduro?
I have been. It's
Great questions, especially from somebody who, for someone who was bragging about the Miami baptism, right? To denounce Cuba, the Cuban Revolution, to denounce the Bolivarian Revolution, to essentially call for, which was what Mandani was doing, by calling Maduro a dictator, by accusing, just Cuba in general, because Fidel forever lives in their minds as a authoritarian, repressive state, the Caribbean, North Korea, if you will. And I will say this. I think it's funny that, or I guess my question is, why is it that they're willing to, when they talk about Venezuela, to go from Hugo Chavez to Maduro fairly comfortably? But for whatever reason, when it comes to Cuba, it doesn't matter who's in power. The spirit of Fidel lives on forever, which, grateful for that. It should. But I wonder why the propaganda, the imperial propaganda, couldn't adapt, couldn't update the villain of the week. I wonder what the distinction was. It's just Fidel was too burnt into the minds of boomers, or what is it? It always tripped me up. I'm like, why not the update? What are we doing here? I mean, is it not the Caribbean, North Korea? That is that not the way that they try and push it? What's going on, Lynn Stacks? But this is a great question to ask somebody who essentially is an imperialist propagandist, which is what George Ramos over here is known for. And it's funny how you fall for it. I mean, I'm assuming he's older than Anderson Cooper, but the gray hair, the tie, everything, like he's not wearing the tie anymore, but the professional look, when you growing up, when we would watch Televisa, or is it Univision? If Jorge Ramos was like talking or breaking down a story, you would listen. You sit down and you listen and you try to, learn the truth and whatnot of a situation. And so it is very personal, growing up and realizing that this guy is just another fucking imperial mouthpiece. Because like, damn, homie, like, I trusted you. You know what I mean? Like you were playing in my living room since I was a fucking chamaco. So, you feel used. You feel lied to. It's a little different. I expect white people to lie to me. So even when they're on the news, I'm like, okay, if you say so. With George over here, it's a little bit different. So, although I will say, growing up, I don't remember him having such a consistent tan. So I don't know if that's like a Bad Bunny situation where he's like doing the rotations on the tanning bed a little bit more. It would make sense to play it up now. But growing up, it was like, oh, he was like, a lighter dude, you know. But all right, but he harps on this moment with Trump, like, I called out Trump, I spoke up to power, this and that. I'm like, it was a stunt. It was performative. It was performative. And again, I feel like a lot of these counterinsurgent propagandists, and you see it with Hassan Piker, like, they paint them as being victimized and targeted by the state in order to further legitimize them to those who are critical of the status quo. And so these acts of quote unquote rebellion or targeting are done so to further give them street credit, legitimize them as a voice of the restless or speaking truth to power, when in reality, they're just part of the imperial propagandist machine. Let me see if I can move this a little bit down. All right.
It's interesting what you're saying, because I have been a journalist for more than 30 years, an independent journalist. And everybody who knows me
I voted for
knows what
Kamala
happened
Harris. You got
with
problem?
Donald Trump.
Sorry, excuse me. Emblem Fate, thank you for the super chat. Al Sharpton is my George Ramos. I get your feeling. Yeah, Al Sharpton. I think Al Sharpton would have hurt more, because for us, Jorge Ramos is always just a journalist, where Al Sharpton is portrayed to be an activist. So I can see that one hurting a little bit more. I know there's that story. Again, tell me how legitimate it is, and thank you for letting me know I was muted. My apologies. That's supposed to be Jesse Jackson smeared Dr. King's blood on himself to make it look like he was like, or push his narrative that he was holding him after being shot. So I think there's levels to it, whereas Jorge Ramos never really represented, you know, I think a more fair comparison to Al Sharpton would be when you find out that Cesar Chavez was, you know, this straight up fucking xenophobic, racist, trying to align himself with white nationalism. But I was mentioning when I was muted is we always talk about the politics, or, you know, the privilege of beauty, of being attractive. Jorge Ramos has always been easy on the eyes. Great jawline, even the silver fox look works for him. His balding isn't even that devastating, kind of suits him as he gets older. Colored eyes, all that stuff, right? And he's just dark enough, right? He's not too dark, right? Where you feel a little uncomfortable. He's appealing to white people. He's just exotic enough. But always keep that in mind, because you see it. You see it how that is pushed to make you trust people. And you look at all these figures, it's rare that someone have such a large platform and not be attractive, if we're being honest. If you look at somebody like Cenk Uygur, if you look at somebody like Emma Vigeland, if you look at somebody like Cal Kalinske when he was younger, things like that, you're like, oh damn, you know, bad empanada. But you understand how individuals like Jorge Ramos, Hassan Piker, Sam Cedar, now that he's older, that kind of, that beauty, or the perception of beauty, kind of makes you more comfortable and accepting of their bullshit. And we have to acknowledge that and be aware of that, because that is connected with, you know, disabilities, like physically apparent disabilities. And that's something that I mentioned before on stream that I need to work on to really incorporate into my analysis and my overall worldview. I forgot what I was seeing, where they had like these, like, essentially beauty laws in the US, where if you were physically impaired or disabled, they would like arrest you and charge you, be like, no, you gotta stay indoors. Eugenics, of beauty is part of it all. All right. Ugly laws. Thank you.
Years, an independent journalist. And everybody who knows me knows what happened with Donald Trump. Do you remember what happened with Donald Trump?
Yes, the questions were great. If I had done that at a press conference, though, I'd probably speaking out of turn.
So it is very clear that I had
no plans to confront Marco Rubio about calling for killing Nicolas Maduro, an elected leader.
I'll do all the questions that need to be made.
Will you ask Marco Rubio why he called for the murder of Nicolas Maduro?
I'll ask.
Yes or no?
No, I'll ask all the politicians the tough questions. I have demonstrated in the past that I asked the tough questions to President Trump. I've demonstrated that I've asked the tough questions to Nicolas Maduro, and I keep on asking to anyone,
including Marco Rubio, about calling for the killing of Nicolas Maduro.
I'll ask anyone the tough questions to anyone.
So you will do so.
Okay, what questions?
And that was pretty racist of Max. That was pretty racist of Max to target a man of color like that. That's how Max Blumenthal and his dumbass white nationalist, aka white populist friends, think of identity politics. Or people that are aware of them, how we talk. It's not. This is a fucking comprador. He's not gonna ask Marco Rubio anything about this attempting to or broadcasting that they're gonna assassinate Maduro, because nothing would make George Ramos happier. Nothing would make him happier. Nothing would make him happier than to see Maduro in the same position that Gaddafi was put in. Despicable. Despicable. In brackets, don't laugh. Keeping the Twitch chat alive over there. All laws are ugly when they are written on stolen land by the evil empire. Yeah, but they were literally called ugly laws, though. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but they were quite literally called ugly laws, right? All right. But yes, I understand the poetic. Oh, and by the way, this is what happens when
took away our cell phone.
When you make fun of the Majority Report. Let me see here. This shit's funny. I don't really like pulling this up, but it made me laugh. We go over this all the time about Sam Seder being a Zionist. And always the same bullshit. Sam has changed his position since then because it's from 23. All I ask is please show me where he calls for decolonization of Palestine. Please show me. Because Sam Seder doesn't even support land back here in the US, like a good little settler. Why the fuck did you expect me to believe without any evidence that he supports the decolonization of Palestine? Provides no evidence and just says, watch Sam every day. His views on Israel, as an older Jewish man, have undoubtedly changed over the course of the past 2 years, like in many others. The fact is, Sam is an ally, and everyone on his show are intense fighters for the issues of Palestinian rights. So fucking pathetic. The bar is in hell. So, as simply put, so you can't show me when he's called for the decolonization of the Zionist project. In fact, he's called for the destruction of the leadership of Hamas, so I'm sure he was happy when Sinwar was assassinated. And again, no evidence. Brother, get a life. I'm just online all day, y'all. Oh, well. Definitely not in its current form. Wow. Man, these are all liberal Zionists. They just don't fucking know. Damn. No, I did not watch Max's debate last night. I really don't like Max Blumenthal. I really, especially how things, you know, ended up with Ben Norton. I know Ben Norton's a little bit like dweeby. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But it's like, homie, if you're in a foreign country, if U.S. laws are going to apply and your boss or your former business partner that was your boss, if we're being honest, tries to get in your fucking face like that, nah, bro. Nah, that's a fucking gift from the gods, homie. That's a gift from the gods. And I understand they had like legal things going on. Let me see here. But I mean, I'm not a legal expert, but if you run the fucking fade, let me see if I can find it. In a foreign country, I mean, can you be held accountable for that? Or does that factor in a court of law in the U.S.? How does that? I don't know how that works, but oh, here it is. Here it is. Let me see here. Did I take the risk?
Hey, Ben, I need to do this for the public record. Can you tell the Moderate Rebels Patreons why you stole the account from me? How much money you stole from me? Because we had a 50-50 agreement.
Not enough, rich
Can you
boy.
just tell the Moderate Rebels, because they don't know. Your patrons don't know that you stole it from me.
It's a fucking lie.
You stole tens of thousands of dollars from me.
Well, he has to get his brother, who's actually bigger than him, to stand in front of him.
Why are you getting your twin brother to defend you?
Why are you doing this?
Why did your brother steal from me?
Yeah,
It's not a lie. Ben, if it was a lie, you could deny it, but I have all the proof. I have all the receipts. You tried to steal. You tried to steal our social media accounts too.
Come on.
You're a
why-
thief. You're a white-collar criminal. You're guilty of computer fraud.
Why you?
You should be in jail.
Why you
Jackson
come to-
Hinkle was right. Everything he said was right about you.
Why you come to Nicaragua to do?
Jackson Hinkle was right. Again, Max Blumenthal, white nationalist through and through. But yeah. Ay. So never give these fucking people too much credit. Ben Norton seems like a sweet dude, but Ben, I mean, we gotta hit some pads, bro. My cardio is shit right now, but you know, I know Max has some weight on you, but I don't know. Rich kids, they break too easy. I don't trust them. In brackets, don't laugh in the Twitch chat. I just feel in my gut that Sam Cedar's a good guy. Literally that, bro. Literally that. Like no evidence. Just like, shut up, get a life. Sam is basically a warrior, Palestinian warrior. Sam is a revolutionary. Nobody cares about Palestinians more than Sam Cedar. Jesus. That's why he wants them represented fairly in the Zionist government. The fact that we don't view Sam Cedar as a white supremacist is just goes to show like the normalization of white supremacy, especially on the left. Sam Cedar is an anti-black misogynist, like through and through. If you have any doubts about it, look at the way that he talked about Brianna Joy Gray. He's never spoken about, anyone he's debated in the same manner. But a black woman schools him, and suddenly she's an angry, loud black woman. If you could hear the fucking dog whistle. Man. Yeah, the reveal. Sam Cedar is the physical embodiment of the collective Palestinian struggle. Emma Vigeland cried to her Zionist therapist about the way that the Palestinian genocide is changing the chemicals in her brain. In brackets, don't laugh. If black women are getting angry and loud around you, then it's a self-report. Sometimes I gotta be careful with what I say. uh. All right, let's move forward. Let's move forward before I get myself in trouble here. All right. It's a little Max Blumenthal lore right there. Although we've been over it, so let me make sure this is yeah, I guess we should go through the first story here. Or should we, you know what, fuck it, let's watch a majority report video. Let's do that. It's a different vibe today. We'll save the reading for a little bit later. But I just had to watch this. And it should be the first thing over here. Just in case. I gotta be more careful these days here. Trying to normalize this here. Was it this one? Was it really this one? Yeah, it was this one. Damn, I listened to that much of this bullshit. God damn, bro. All right, some of y'all might get mad at me because of this, but we put on our tinfoil hats for a fucking reason. Remember, and I'm going to start that series. After this Grand Planner thing, I really want to focus in on this series. I'm going to call it the Counterinsurgency Propagandists. And we're going to break down, you know, the anarchist experiences, Sam Cedars, the Hassan Pikers, the Emma Viglins, the leftist mafia. We're going to break down how they contribute to empire, to settler colonialism. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm making part of a playlist just to give access to people who trust these individuals. But let's watch a little bit of this and I'll show you why I thought this was worthwhile.
We are back. Sam Cedar, Emma He's the publisher of Infinite Jazz on Substack. Folks, if you subscribe to any Substack, you do yourself a favor, subscribe to Jasper's. The firsthand accounts of reporting in the West Bank, for whatever reason, we just don't see many journalists go into the West Bank and actually get on the ground reporting. Jasper has done that. Jasper, welcome back to the program. We spoke to you when you came back, and we showed.
Again, if you don't find it suspicious, that's like, oh yeah, why are you allowed? Why are you allowed on the ground? Why are you giving so much access? If you don't find that suspicious, I don't know what to tell you. Why am I blinking out on homie's name? The reporter that, on the ground reporter that everyone loved. He was Palestinian, and it's funny because when you're in, not that I'm in these circles, when you know people that are in these circles, these Palestinian, actual like supporting resistance Palestinian circles, you know, sometimes you get the heads up beforehand. And hey, you know what? Maybe don't repost this guy, or hey, don't fall for this individual. And then, you know, you ask why respectfully, like, okay, like, yes, I hear you. Okay, I'll adjust accordingly. Would you mind providing me context or information? And I only say that because it should be enough. If, you know, this is like your Palestinian homie, comrade, what have you, that puts you on like, hey, that individual, nah, don't fall for it. That should be enough. All right, cool, for sure. Because why the fuck would they have ill intent? Why the fuck would they try to mislead you, misguide you, right? But, you know, for your own benefit, better understanding of the situation, and to inform others, it's good to respectfully ask, okay, like, why? What is the backstory? At the end of the day, tell me the cheese, man. That's that's what I want to know, you know? And sure enough, so I was put onto this information, and sure enough, he was shaking hands with the Palestinian Authority. What is he was so fucking popular. What is his name? Help me out. It's the most popular Palestinian journalist. Let me see here. It was Abbas, but who did he meet with? Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Reed 2406. Thank you so much. Yes, it was. Let's see here. That's what it was.
احنا بنخدم بلدنا بنخدم فلسطين فوق ما هو مطلوب منك ولكن
Journalist Motas meets with Palestinian President Mohammed Abbas. Mahmoud, I'm a racist. Mahmoud Abbas.
قدرنا كل واحد يؤدي واجبه وكل واحد يؤدي اللي عليه. احنا بنخدم بلدنا بنخدم فلسطين وبالاخير فلسطين بدها تكون دولة غصب عن.
Wait, why would you set this up that you're going to provide the translation and then not provide the translation? God damn it, bro. Yo, I gotta be nosy, but hold on, let me see. I want to see this real quick. Yeah, that's him. It's just his name is spelled differently. What are your thoughts on Abbas meeting with Motas? Or what? Again, what the fuck is going on with my dyslexia? Just, I don't know. I do not know. I don't think much about it, but I saw a lot of people on Twitter calling Motas a traitor and cursing him for meeting Abbas. But I think it's a bit unfair because I guess we can say that Motas is in temporary exile in Doha on behalf of Qatar, where he is also continuing his work on speaking out of Gaza, and Abbas had a meeting with Qatari Emir in Doha yesterday too, and afterwards the video and photos of them were uploaded. So considering these circumstances, I don't think Motat had the chance to refuse to meet him or something, and probably felt obliged to show up and do it out of necessity. Yeah, that's a fucking horrific excuse. So I would only brought him up. Damn, it's been a while since I've. Anywho, because it's like, understand certain people get access for a fucking reason. It's these limited hangouts.
Some video of that you took when you went out to the olive groves and basically were attacked by settlers. And on Thanksgiving, there was some developments in that. In fact, there was developments in two stories that you were pursuing on Thanksgiving. But welcome to the show. Tell us what happened on Thanksgiving.
In brackets in the Twitch chat, no, I didn't mention Max's father, but I have mentioned it in the past. I mean, when Hillary Clinton's texting your pops and saying, Maxie's doing a great job. That's all I gotta know. That's all I gotta fucking know about who you are and what a threat you are to power.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. Thanksgiving was a wonderful day. Basically, I woke up to a million text messages because the settler who I documented clubbing the Palestinian grandmother, who before that had sort of led a chase against me and some other Palestinian farmers, he'd been arrested maybe 2 weeks earlier. But it was, one of these things where it was unclear if it was just going to be a token arrest and he was just going to get sort of, let out immediately. But on Thanksgiving morning, he was indicted on terror charges in Israel. And, that it still has to go to trial, obviously, but it's a sign at least that they're at least going to try to make an example of this one guy. And, I want to be clear that I'm not under any illusion that Israel is going to rein in its settlers that it vehemently backs and arms and supports. But as I keep saying, the fact that they have responded to this international pressure and outrage over this one attack to the point that they're actually bringing terror charges against him, I think is a good indication that pressure is working, and the more you document these things, the more they are willing to react. So that was the first thing that.
So look, and you could accuse me of being hypercritical on this one, and you can maybe say that my anti-liberal Zionist propagandist bias is showing, because it is the majority report platforming this individual. I'm still debating whether or not we should read that article that he wrote about settlers. I think we should, to show that we're not just haters here. If you write good shit, if you give good reporting, you know, all credit to you. Now, for what purpose are you writing certain stuff or covering things? Again, in order to be a limited hangout, and that we have to be critical about. But however, so yeah, we'll read it. Fuck it. We'll change up the lineup and read it. My fear here, and this is my fear, is that what he's doing is pushing for like, hey, like if we just report on this stuff, the Zionist entity will be forced to adapt and at least concede certain things. We've seen here in the States, in the Belly of the Beast, how every so often a pig will be held accountable. Every so often a pig will be held accountable. And we cheer that shit on like a victory. We celebrate it. But all it is a release valve. And so then when the next murder, the next public lynching of a black man, of a black woman, of a marginalized individual occurs, the uproar is going to be a little less. And the hope in the system is going to be a little bit more. And you have a rinse and repeat. You have a cycle of this that goes through. We have to understand that these settler colonial projects learn from each other and borrow tactics and strategies to keep both the indigenous population and in the states, New Africans, somewhat, you know, calmed, somewhat, you know, not too rowdy. And so every so often, a pig will be held accountable. And as the majority report, they want to see the democratization of the Zionist entity. They don't want to see a liberated Palestine because they think that's a pipe dream, and because they're settler white supremacists that embrace it. That believe that it can be saved and reformed. Nah, it's just different tactics of us normalizing settler colonialism. They want to push this narrative forward. I don't know if this journalist is consciously doing it, but the majority report wants to push this narrative that the Zionist entity can be reformed. And so this story of one colonizer being held accountable is meant by the Zionist entity to demonstrate, all right, look, we'll concede, we'll give you, possibly, because we've seen plenty of terrorists, Zionist terrorists, that do get held accountable, later on be released, or later on fucking become a major political figure. So I know why the majority report, I know why Sam Cedar, the anti-Zionist, I know why Emma, Israel has a right to exist because it does exist, Vigeland, are promoting this gentleman here. Now, I don't know if he himself is consciously doing this. I'm not too familiar with his work. But again, the fact that he's given access to this, and later on he will mention that he is in communication with these colonizers, with Zionists and the administration within the Zionist entity. Major Laser, if you don't mind expanding on that, because there's a whole lot of Kyle Kalinske racism. All right.
That happened. Pressure
I hope
is
that
working.
made sense.
The more you document these things, the more they are willing to react. So that was the first thing that happened.
Well, let's.
Which is a very anthropological kind of approach to it, right? Oh, the more we document it, the more it'll change things. Yeah. Okay, buddy.
Let's stop with that one first. What can you tell us about terror charges? Like, where on the spectrum of charges, how serious is it that they charged him with terror charges as opposed to like assault, or I don't know. I mean, it seems to me there's a range of things they could have charged him with, and I wonder if there's anything to be read into those charges.
I mean, it's equivalent to like a hate crime charge. So I think the specific, it's like race-based violent crime, something to that effect. I mean, it is serious. You know, oftentimes they will arrest these guys and charge them with like disorderly conduct or, you know, some version of like unlawful gathering or rioting or something. This is, you know, it's a serious charge. He could do real time. It doesn't mean that he will. It doesn't mean that he'll be found guilty or that, you know, he won't plead to lesser charges or something like that. But it's serious. There's no way around it. I mean, they are, and I should say that, like, you know, the Israeli authorities who have been in touch with me about it, who I have conversed with to some extent, I've basically said to them repeatedly that, like, I don't believe you, that you're serious about this, and sort of challenged them. And they kept saying, just watch, just watch. And they brought a serious charge.
You see what I mean? So they fuck with you enough to be like, no, we'll prove you wrong. We'll prove you wrong. We'll show you, buddy. You'll see, pal. You know what I mean? Like, they trust him and fuck with him enough to be like, yeah, don't worry. We'll show you. This time it'll be different. You'll see your reporting does make a difference. And all we need is more reporters. And I asked myself, it's just strange that the Zionist entity is willing to assassinate and target Palestinian journalists after Palestinian journalists after Palestinian journalists. But this fool's on the phone with them. This fool's in communication with them. They're reassuring him. And you expect me not to get suspicious. You expect me not to get suspicious. And again, it just highlights how we don't view Zionist. We don't view the Zionist entity for what it truly is, because we don't value Palestinian lives. Because the majority of them are brown and Muslim. But again, imagine if you had a journalist being like, no, look, the Third Reich, they're promising to hold this Nazi accountable. The Third Reich, you know, people within the Third Reich are telling me, I'm in constant communication with them, and they're promising me, they're telling me, you just watch. We're gonna punish this SS soldier. We're gonna hold Grant Plattner accountable. And we have to always keep that in mind, because even this, you have to understand, and I know it may come off. I believe me, I was debating whether or not to cover it. That's why I didn't include it in the title. Because I was going to say, you know, in the title, I was going to say the same thing I tweeted out. The very same thing I tweeted out, where it's like, hey, like, trust me, guys. And we'll see in a little bit. Democrats actually care about Palestinians now. Oh, yeah, Major Lasers. I covered that in a previous stream. I did cover that in a previous stream. You can check that out at Deculturation Live. If you guys haven't already, if y'all haven't already, go subscribe to Deculturation Live. It should be on there. The reason why I haven't, well, one, I lack the time, but the reason why I haven't specifically edited that video out, and maybe I should, of Kyle Kalinske, is because I actually want to do, when I break down the counterinsurgents propagandists, Kyle's definitely going to be one of them. And so I'm like, his anti-blackness, his transphobia, his just targeted bigotry is definitely something that needs to be covered later to further extent. Oh, bro, I was laughing so hard about this. I don't really see myself, like, I don't really look in the mirror too often. But I was laughing so hard at this because I didn't realize until I went to a bathroom in that stream. Like, I look like a straight ass fucking, like a straight ass fool. It's in one of these. My apologies. But y'all should go ahead and subscribe to 1,000. We're halfway there, halfway there, halfway there. And it all stays up there. Once we hit 1,000 there, I'll be honest, I'll be straight up. I'll monetize it and have more time to edit clips out and stuff. But right now, I really do want to focus on the edited videos. But this is where the live streams will live in one way or another. All right. Let's get back to this.
Against him. Again, I want to, like, sort of just rein it in a little bit, because there's an entire terror network in Termasaya, in this town where the attack took place. So there's like a known leader of the violent outpost. The guy who was arrested is basically like a foot soldier. So, you know, they have not, you know, this is like equivalent to the, to like arresting, you know, a hitman in the mafia, but not going after the actual mob family or the boss or anything. So it's not, in my opinion, like a systematic effort to take out the terror network. But again, it's a serious charge against a violent settler, which is like extraordinarily rare.
Okay, and let's talk about the.
So he's basically saying they're throwing us a bone. The Zionist entity, he's admitting that the Zionist entity, at best, and it's not even guaranteed yet, is throwing us a bone, aka a release valve. All right, here's one. Boom. And it's not even guaranteed yet. They're already celebrating this. And again, this is not to diminish or to say that his victim and his victim's families and loved ones don't deserve justice. What I'm saying is, to celebrate or expect justice to come from the Settler Colonial Project, the Zionist Settler Colonial Project, is contributing to the normalization of Zionist entity, that somehow, through pressure, that it could hand out justice, that the Zionist entity could hand out justice. And I just realized I'm also a little bit muted. My apologies. That's why I don't like eating on stream. I hope y'all were able to hear me. I'll repeat myself very quickly and briefly. The idea that you're pushing this line of thinking, that you're pushing this propaganda, that with enough pressure, the Zionist entity will throw you a bone, admitting that the Zionist entity is just throwing you a bone, even that is not even guaranteed. Like, that is meant to legitimize the Zionist entity through and through. The idea that they can hand out justice, the idea that the Settler Colonial Project, the Zionist entity, committing a genocide, can hand out justice, is normalizing the Zionist entity, is pushing a narrative that it can be reformed. And that's the reason why Sam, the anti-Zionist leader, and Emma, Israel has the right to exist because it does exist, Vigeland, are platforming this man. I don't know enough of his work to say that he is himself proactively contributing to this, but I am suspicious about the access alone that he has and the constant communication apparently that he has with the Zionist entity. Am I being paranoid? Am I being hypercritical? Sure, I'll take that criticism. But am I wrong? Is the idea that the Zionist entity can hand out justice not normalizing its existence? I don't know where he's from. I've seen him around. And they're never really paid attention to him. I'm telling you, I really don't try to engage with these whites.
The second thing that happened on Thanksgiving. This is quite a morning for you.
Yeah. So Mohammed Ibrahim, the 16-year-old Palestinian-American kid who he's from Florida, and his family sort of goes back and forth between Florida and the West Bank. He was arrested, or abducted, I should say, in February from his home in a town called Al-Mazrah al-Sharqiyya. I should also say this is the first cousin of Saifullah Musalet, who's a 20-year-old Palestinian-American who was beaten to death by settlers in July. So Mohammed has been basically wasting away in Israeli military detention since February. He's been starved, he's been beaten, he contracted scabies, he's been barred from speaking to his own family for over 9 months. On Thanksgiving Day, he was released into his father, who went to pick him up, and they brought him to the hospital. I mean, I don't know if you've seen photos.
Reed, I think you shouldn't back down from this line. It's not about hurting people's feelings at the end of the day. No, I understand that. I just like knowing a little bit more about people. Y'all know I love receipts. You know, I love having evidence, videos, documentation, quotes. I like having that to back up my positions. I like having that. I don't know enough about this Jasper guy. I have seen him around. I've never really paid attention to him. Why do you need this white, savior over here, this journalist? Why do you need him when we've had countless and countless of Palestinians reporting on the ground about their experience? Why do you need this white man to tell you things are really bad over here? Yes, no fucking shit. Palestinians are telling us, have been telling us. But you need to have that white face for people to pay attention. And the question is, what gets filtered out? The question is, what angle are they pushing? And just from this conversation alone, and we're going to read this article, and I genuinely hope that the article is good. The title seems interesting. This is going to be a long stream, apparently. And I appreciate y'all for hanging out. Hit the like if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell if you want to know when I go live. Usually, it's Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays in the mornings. But if y'all like this time a little bit better, we'll adjust. I don't mind waking up. Now I have to wake up super early because of my long shifts, and this fool gets fucking upset and starts acting up. So the goal right now is waking up at 3:30 a.m. to go for at least a 2-mile run in the morning. And he's still gonna fucking be mad at me when I get home. So can't win. Just constantly disappointing the people around me. Here we go.
Photos or videos, but he's like extremely gaunt. He looks like he hasn't seen the sun in 9 months, and he's lost a lot of weight, and he's still got scabies, but he's free, and family is ecstatic. And then actually, what happened next in my mind is just as exciting. So basically, I'll get into the details of what happened. Basically, I mean, there's been an effort for 9.5 months to get the U.S. government to support freeing, an American child, which one would think is the job of the American government.
And what ostensibly was he being held for?
Oh, yeah. He was being accused of throwing a stone. So basically him and 3 other Palestinian kids, the kids who are not American, were accused of throwing stones at cars. Muhammad was never even accused of hitting a car. He was just accused of literally throwing a stone. And he denied it. And then eventually he allegedly confessed to it. He then said in a sworn affidavit that he was beaten on the way to the military detention center when he was abducted at 3 a.m. He was beaten once he got there, and then as he was being interrogated, they threatened to beat him again if he didn't confess. So he confessed under duress, which is entirely consistent with testimony and reporting from what's happening inside these military detention centers. So the charge was that he threw a stone. And basically the U.S. government just completely ignored it for months and months and months. The story didn't even break until July, like 5 months after he was abducted, and it broke when a great reporter named Joseph Gedeon with The Guardian was reporting on the murder of Sayfullah. And as he was talking to the family, they mentioned that Sayfullah's first cousin, literally their mothers or sisters, had been in military detention for months, and nobody had even known about this yet.
So, okay, they charge him with throwing a stone, and then that's it? There's no trial over the throwing with a stone? Like, after 5 months at that point? They just...
Sorry if I keep hitting the mic. This is so fucking frustrating because I don't know if he's like doing a... what is that documentarian's name? Is that what he calls somebody who does documentaries? Louis Theroux or something along those lines. He just did one on the West Bank, which, we saw a little bit of. But again, the question is, how many more documentaries do we need about something that is so well documented and well known, right? So I don't know if Sam Cedar's taking that approach that Louis, is that his name, Theroux? His approach of like acting stupid, but he's acting stupid around people that he's trying to record and get an honest answer from. Whereas Sam Cedar might just be fucking stupid, right? And the might is doing a lot of fucking work. Yeah, Louis, is it Louis or Luis or Louis Theroux's Settlers? But he does that kind of like, he kind of plays like like he acts like a little bit of a dimwit. Would that be the proper term? I don't know. He's British. I'm trying to find like a British way of saying it. And it works. It works. It's a little frustrating to watch at times, but it works in order to bring down the guard of the individuals around him that he's trying to get a real and honest response from, or to allow themselves to dig themselves deeper without realizing it, and to view him as less of a threat. So I don't understand why Sam Cedar would take that approach as somebody that he's interviewed before and somebody who will just answer his questions. Why would Sam Cedar go, and you're telling me there was no trial? What? For 5 months? What? Huh? Maybe he's doing it to the audience? A knob? Yeah, a knob. And Walker, that's not what I don't know if that's I think a lot of. Anywho, all right, let's not get into that. Okay, let's get back to.
I don't understand, like how aside from like,
look.
even if it's a valid like after 5 months, don't
Even known about this yet?
So okay, they charge him with throwing a stone, and then that's it. There's no trial over the throwing with a stone. Like after 5 months, at that point,
What? Design insanity? Kidnapping a child? What? No trial for 5 months? Saying so. Yeah, Lana, thank you for saying it. Lana, thank you. I was about to say, because there's a whole lot. I was going to say a lot of like non-British people don't realize that. And I'm like, I'm not going to touch that. But yeah. Sonny, Jasper Nathaniel exposed to settler violence in his Substack, Infinite Jazz, is so much better than Thoreau, but I understand what you mean with letting settlers expose themselves with Sam. He's just stupid, yeah. Look, again, if you're doing good reporting, and we're going to read his article because I don't want to be accused of being like, oh, I'm just vilifying this guy. What I am accusing him of, though, is by the narrative that he's communicating and the way that he's doing it. Even when he adds a little asterisk of like, I'm not saying they're going to hold him accountable, but it's a good sign. And that alone, pushing the narrative that the Zionist Settler Colonial Project can bring forth justice, is normalization.
they're like, I don't understand, like how aside from like, even if it's a valid charge of stone throwing, how there's no court case.
Even if it's a valid charge of stone throwing. Even if it's a valid charge, and I know they're going to be like, no, you're just saying, like, hypothetically, even within the context of that, if he's going to get legitimately charged because he actually did throw a stone, he should have a speedy trial. Sam is just saying that if the kid did throw a stone, at the very least, he deserves a speedy trial. And it's like, why even accept that narrative? Why even push the narrative that there can somehow be a valid stone throwing charge? Why do that? What do you win? What do you do with that? Other than subconsciously push it on your audience that there can be, hypothetically speaking, there can be a valid stone throwing charge on a child, or anyone for that fucking matter. Jesus, man. But he is generally this fucking stupid, isn't he, though? I'm just look at his fucking face. He's not that good of an actor. He failed out of Hollywood. He is not that good of an actor. Holy shit. Jeez.
Over the throwing with a stone, like after 5 months, at that point, 5 months. They're like, I don't understand, like how aside from like, even if it's a valid charge of stone throwing, how there's no court case.
Countless of those.
16 years old, right? This kid?
He was 15 at the time. He
15.
turned 16 in prison. Yeah, it's hard to understand. There was no trial. I mean, basically, he had a court date scheduled, and then his father showed up, and then it was delayed by 30 days. And then there was another court date scheduled, and the father showed up, and it was delayed by 30 days. And this happened over and over and over, and they could not get any information whatsoever. And the U.S. Embassy was not speaking to them. And they
again, Sam, what fucking difference would it make if he did have a trial? Can someone explain to me what fucking difference would it make if this kid had a trial? Please, anyone, let me know. What difference would it make? And again, this is what happens when your narrative, when your goal is to make the Zionist entity democratic. And you oppose decolonization. In fact, you villainize decolonization.
they were barred from communicating with their son in any way. So
bro is just drinking straight fucking lead at that point.
I mean, it was a complete black box. They had no idea what was happening. And also like a 17-year-old from the neighboring town who was Muhammad's cellmate dropped dead in prison in those first few months. And the family heard that a teenager from their area had died in prison, and they basically spent a whole day thinking that it was their son. So I mean, it was torture. It was torture for them.
Where was Muhammad born?
He was born in Florida.
I mean, this is just an American kid in Florida, from Florida, who is visiting family in Palestine.
And as it turns out, the Secretary of State of the United States is a proud Florida man. And he never so much as mentioned Muhammad's name. So yes, I mean, this is an American kid. And I should say, like, when I was in the West Bank in October, I stayed with the family a couple of times actually. And like, not that this should, like privilege them or make them any more deserving of security, but like, they're Americans. Like, these are just like completely.
Well, it's just basic democratic representation. I mean, there should be some sort of level of trust that Americans have, that a teenage boy who is an American can't be held indefinitely for throwing a stone by our supposed greatest ally without having our government intervene. That would, I mean, that's kind of basic stuff, I would imagine, for the world superpower. But you mentioned Rubio. What's fascinating.
So it's just basic stuff. Yeah, Emma, if you're fucking white. Yes, if you're fucking white. There's a basic expectation for someone like you. There's a transphobe, but didn't Dave Chappelle have a bit about, was it Dave Chappelle? Or Cat Williams? Who had the bit about if a white woman gets kidnapped or held hostage? I'm blanking out, but I want to say it was Chappelle. Yeah. Geo, Obama bombed an American child. But she's talking about white kids and white expectations.
Here is, we were talking a little bit about this. Chris Van Hollen has now been across these kind of two major cases. One that's, of course, the Kilmar Brego Garcia case earlier this year. But when it comes to this, he seemed to put a lot of pressure on the U.S. government and the Trump administration to free him here. What's your assessment of his role in Muhammad's release?
Yeah, so basically there was like not virtually, there was literally no effort whatsoever from anybody in the US government for the first 5-6 months of his detention. After the story broke, that's when I sort of latched onto it. I got Joseph, the reporter, connected me with the family, and I started talking with them basically every day. And it became clear pretty much right away that for the most part, not for the most part, that the US Embassy was not interested in helping. And that their Florida representatives were not interested in helping. You know, Rick Scott, I'm forgetting who the other Florida senator is, she was not interested in helping. And so it was clear that, it was obviously not going to just sort of matriculate through the Israeli military criminal justice system. Like, he was just going to rot away indefinitely. So it was like, okay, this needs to be just a grassroots pressure campaign. And so I basically worked with the family to start haranguing US lawmakers, which included a trip to DC as part of a delegation with the families of Americans who have been killed in the West Bank, including the father of Saifullah, Kamel. And what happened was, like, certain lawmakers started getting involved, the people you would expect, like Rashida Tlaib. And then Chris Van Hollen, I got to be honest, like, I didn't even know who this guy was until a year, maybe 2 years ago. And he just sort of like comes out of nowhere. And I have to be honest, like, he showed real moral clarity. Like, in my conversations with his staff and just engaging with them, like, it seemed like he understood that this was the right thing to do, and so he started becoming really vocal about it. A couple other things that I should just mention, this detail, like, just absolutely cracks me up, so, or it makes me cry maybe. But so, like, the pressure campaign builds and builds and builds. I'm working with the family and a couple of organizations like CARE and some others to organize like massive phone banking to get representatives. All of it is really aimed at like trying to get representatives to call the US Embassy and demand that they do something. But
quick question, chat. Do we think Van Hollen's going to run for president? Because remember, he was the one that went to go see Obrego Garcia, right? Was he the one? Yeah, he went to go, yeah. Gilmar. Fucking love that name, by the way. He's getting a little busy. He's getting a little busy. And these are all really, really, it looks good. I could see some Rad Libs getting really fucking hype behind him. Huh. That would be a tough one, not gonna lie. If he keeps up this, yeah. He's doing the thing. He's doing the thing. That'll be interesting. Yeah, no, AJ, I agree. Chris Van Hollen could have been interesting in the could be interesting. B, that's what it was. That was could be interesting in the mix. He would change directions in response to what he differentiated himself with. Yeah, no, that's a risky one for sure. That'll be interesting. Now we're gonna have to dig into his fucking record next. Because that's gonna play well. That's gonna play well. I mean, with this, Michigan, with Kilmar, you have California, you have maybe parts of Texas. I don't know, Texas is a little weird. Huh. All right. Hey, we did a little deep dive in Jasmine Crockett. Maybe we need to do a little deep dive on Chris Van Hollen next. Okay. All right.
At a certain point, a couple of lawmakers who I can't name, who are like deep in the pockets of AIPAC, indicate that they want to help, but they need to do it secretly. They can't let it be publicly known that they are helping to free the American kid. So like, these are people who ostensibly like had a sort of conscience about this and were like, we want to help, but if word gets out that we're trying to help this American kid, then we will get in trouble with AIPAC. And I have since seen some of these lawmakers getting like pilloried on social media for doing nothing to help, and they can't even come out and say, actually, we did help, because that's how afraid of AIPAC they are.
This is so fucking pathetic. There is absolutely no reason, if you're not going to name fucking names, there is absolutely no reason to push this, to talk about this publicly, if you're not going to say any names, other than to help to rehabilitate the image of the Democratic Party. Now that Donald Trump is in office, now that Joe Biden's out of the way, now that it's not Kamala Harris, of course the Democrats are going to start pretending to give a fuck about Palestinians. Of course. That's a fucking given. Suddenly they grow a fucking conscience in a spine. But even then, it's very limited. And it's fucking brittle. So if you're not going to name any names, you're just going to say, oh, I can't say, but there's some Democrats that, let me tell you, heart of fucking gold. They're just scared. They're just scared of big old scary AIPAC. There is no reason to talk about this if you're not pushing for the rehabilitation of the Democratic Party, of like, shucks, once we get rid of AIPAC, then these guys will truly be free to, help the Palestinian people. Then and only then. It's AIPAC, and you see this with Jennifer Welch. Oh, AIPAC. You see this with AIPAC Tracker. Oh, AIPAC. AOC, Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez, does not take any fucking AIPAC money. And guess what? Side by side with lifelong Zionist Bernie Sanders, allegedly Golda Meir's former lover. The word on the street is Bernie and Golda Meir met at a kibbutz. And it's just like, bro, like, what is the point of mentioning this if you're not going to out them for being fucking cowards? God damn. Oh, I won't tell who, but the fuck out of here with this shit. Why the fuck are you protecting the Democratic Party?
And we're like, we want to help, but if word gets out that we're trying to help this American kid, then we will get in trouble with AIPAC. And I have since seen some of these lawmakers getting like pilloried on social media for doing nothing to help, and they can't even come out and say, actually, we did help.
Look at this fucking idiot. Just look at this fucking idiot. Just focus in on this fucking idiot here. Look, she truly believes this shit. Like, she is so bought into this whole fucking West Wing narrative. Never seen the show, never will. I'd rather rewatch Succession. They're so bought into this shit And she truly fucking believes it. It's like a fucking child here, believing in Santa Claus. Look at her face. Look how fucking excited she gets.
Because that's how afraid of AIPAC they are. Which
Can
is
you
just,
say if they're Democrats?
Yes, they're Democrats.
All Democrats.
There might be one Republican too, but there's at least two. Like, it's not
You
Schumer.
see
or
that? You see that?
All Democrats.
There might be one Republican
See?
too, but there's at least two. Like, it's not. Yes, they're Democrats.
All Democrats.
There might be one Republican too, but
What?
there's at least two. Like, it's yes, they're Democrats.
All Democrats.
There might.
Look. She's like, fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. Bro, my gosh. This is why you have to read theory, folks. I know it's boring. I know it's a struggle. Do it with a group if you can. But this is why you have to read theory. Because then you're going to be taking these little victories and thinking it means anything. Look how happy she's like, so the self-gratification of nothing. The self-gratification of fucking absolutely nothing. This fool could just be making this up. He could just straight up be lying right now, and we wouldn't know because he's refusing to provide names. And the only reason you would bring it up without naming names is to help rehabilitate the Democratic Party's image. Only fucking reason. Damn. Wait, what? What's that, Sonny? You mind expanding on that, Sonny? Like I said, I don't really know much about this Jasper guy.
Be one Republican too, but there's at least two. Like, it's not Schumer or Gillibrand.
No fucking shit, bro.
Or Goldman, and those three did absolutely nothing. And people may have seen it.
Again, what is the point of saying it's not so and so, it's not so and so, but I can't tell you who it is? You just got to support the rest of the Democratic Party, but it excludes the fucking most obvious people. No fucking shit, it's not Schumer. God damn. Any plastic idea Carlos be debuting white people I never heard of? Yeah. About white of this week is Jasper Nathaniel. Now, Jasper Nathaniel is the voice of the Palestinian people in the West Bank. He sees the truth that Palestinians just can't see with his colored eyes. The Palestinian is blind to its own suffering, but Jasper is here today. God damn it, bro. To inform the world that the Zionist entity can be fair and just if pressured hard enough. They can't hide from the truth when Jasper is on the call.
Yes, they're Democrats.
All Democrats.
There might be one Republican too, but there's at least two. Like, it's not Schumer or Gillibrand or Goldman, and those three did absolutely nothing. And people may have seen it.
Yeah.
My mom has been sort of leading the campaign to harass those three.
I was going to say, I saw a video that was surreptitiously filmed of your mother. I hope she wasn't upset when she found out that your sister was taking of your mom calling Gillibrand's office, calling Schumer's office, calling other offices.
Yeah, and she was basically, she's been calling them every single day and sort of like leading a network of other mom friends or other friends who have been doing it too. And the message to them has basically been, just wait until I leak the call logs that shows that I've called you every single day and did nothing. So she's been shaming them. And I don't know if you saw this, but literally.
Not the call logs. Oh my goodness. Just the liberal fucking mind of how change occurs. It's so fucking pathetic. It's like the liberal, you know how for the longest MAGA was like, release the Epstein files. Release the Epstein files. The new liberal thing is like, release the call logs. Like they give a fucking shit, bro. What are you pushing here?
Literally last night, Ryan Grimm shared that DropSite reached out to Gillibrand for comment, And somebody, I think on background maybe, or they got word somehow that Gillibrand's office said that after the video aired of my mom saying that, they then reached out to the U.S. Embassy to check in on him. So again, like this is somebody who is, you know, refuses to help, refuses to do anything, and then they're just shamed over and over and over and over again. And finally,
here's your mom.
perhaps
Did
they
we,
do something.
we pop that up? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's.
If y'all want to believe that, you're not as jaded as I am. If y'all want to believe that, all right, cool.
There's two. I mean, it feels like there's two lessons from this. One is that it is possible to shame these people into, you know, you need to go to extraordinary lengths to shame them to do the bare minimum.
Extraordinary lengths? It is not extraordinary to make a fucking phone call. Again, do you see how they're glorifying the right way of doing things? And what this does is further vilify direct action. This further vilifies organized, not just mobilized, organized action. And so what happens, and we saw this with their interview with Peter Beinart. Peter Beinart was pushing that we have to, the US and the Zionist entity has to start rewarding Palestinians for resisting properly through the proper channels and the right methods. Because too often we reward the barbaric, savage, militant resistance fighter. We reward them and not the well-behaved, the well-mannered, hell, even slightly civilized compradors. God damn, bro. Look, and this is what, am I connecting dots that aren't there? Perhaps. Again, my apologies for the lighting. It's been a little weird today. Look at this. Tell me I'm fucking out of my mind. Fucking, let me see here. Let's see, the majority report. Yes. And I'm going to do a whole video on Peter Beinart too, because apparently even abiding by PDS is too fucking radical for him. And I believe it was like carrot or something like that. No? Stick? Was it not stick? Reward maybe? No? What was the word, the language that he was using? Like, proper maybe? No. Let's see here. Where are we at? Like proper path or some shit like that. Maybe like the UN? Incentive? Maybe incentive, yeah. Oh well, let me see if I can find it real quick. Maybe here? Oh, legitimate. Legitimate was a word. Legitimate was a word.
I voted for Kamala Harris. You got problems?
License Audio, thank you so much for the super chat. White families adopting children from the global south are charter schools, but for the residential schools of the past, 100%. Yeah, the homeschooling is fucking dangerous. Homeschooling is fucking dangerous when you got like white parents and shit. Okay, here we go. Let's do this.
Of Palestinians. Maybe it wants to manage the situation. Yes, that's exactly right. The Israeli center was even, is really not interested in fundamentally changing the conditions of Palestinians. Maybe it wants to manage the situation in a slightly different way, but there's not a fundamental difference. I think that, the one of the things that has to happen is Palestinians have to be given the space and the opportunity to create a legitimate politics. This is not really big.
A legitimate Palestinians have to Palestinians have to be given the space to create a legitimate politics. Because resistance is illegitimate.
Been allowed. The most legitimate popular Palestinian leaders like Marwan Barghouti are in jail. There are no elections that are held. And the Mahmoud Abbas doesn't want elections because he's really unpopular and authoritarian. But the U.S. and Israel don't want elections either, because although they like to kick Mahmoud Abbas around a lot, they actually fear that an election could produce some Palestinian leadership they don't like as much, or they can't control as much. I think that the PLO was supposed to be an umbrella movement for all the different political parties. So just like the kind of African National Congress was able to be a kind of capacious in representing a lot of different black politics in South Africa. That
again, glorifying the so-called end to apartheid South Africa.
That's the role that the PLO was supposed to have. Palestinians have to be allowed to recreate a legitimate PLO and then decide for themselves.
Allowed. We have to grant them permission. Jeez. What's the date of this video? This is December 25th, 2023. So 2 years. This is what I mean. The majority report they're liberal Zionists through and through. No pushback on this position.
Essentially what the direction of the Palestinian nationalist movement. Now, of course, that's really difficult given what Hamas has done and given the fact that in the West Bank in particular, it's more popular. And
it's difficult because of Hamas, y'all. It's difficult because of what Hamas did.
And that's why I think you've seen some Palestinians talking about some arrangement in which Hamas might be willing to disarm and leave and stop running Gaza in exchange for entering the PLO as a political party, because it's still going to exist. Palestinian Islamism, the Palestinian wing of the Muslim Brotherhood, is going to exist after this war. It's a reality. And so that seems to me, even though it's...
That reminds me of when Jake Shields told Nick Cruz from Revolutionary Sellout Network, whether you like it or not, black people are here. It's like, what? Oh, man.
It's pretty difficult. That seems to me to beginnings of a way forward.
I mean, way forward though, on which end? I mean, this is the thing that I find sort of intractable.
God,
like,
bro. 2 fucking decades. 2 fucking decades. Call me out when I do it, because I want to get better. But failing up, my goodness, bro. Failing up.
I mean, way forward though, on which end? I mean, this is the thing that I find sort of intractable. Like, if we're in, your analogy in terms of like the first Intifada is that it changed the sort of the narrative that existed, and then the second Intifada also changed the narrative. The argument that Levy and Caron had made was that this was perhaps in some way also an attempt by Hamas to sort of disengage from its role as.
In Plastic Idea, he does not have a stutter. It's not a stutter. It's not a fucking stutter. He's just so full of fucking shit. And he's so fucking uninformed that he does that on purpose. He's talked about it. Hell, one of the reasons why he claims that he does it is so that he's not interrupted. He's like, oh yeah, well, on radio, if you get quiet, then the other person they take that as a sign that you're finished, you're done speaking, and it's their turn. So sometimes you gotta just stumble through to create some time for yourself. Like, we want to hear that fucking shit, bro.
As the government in Gaza, and rather to become a force that is.
I'm not lying. I'm a fucking hater, but I'm not a liar. He's talked about, well, it's gotten way better, but it's just never going to stop.
Fighting sort of untethered from what is happening on the political side. And the U.S. has been talking about Abbas in Gaza, which it seems to be would be a short-lived solution. I mean,
also
he's
ask
80,
what they
he's
want.
88. I mean, well, of course. I mean, but I wonder, like, it doesn't seem like there's anyone who, and certainly the Palestinians at this point don't, are dealing with bombardment and attack and death. So they're not thinking about this. But it doesn't seem like there is any player here who has contemplated what is next at all.
Right. Well, look, I don't think that Americans or Israelis can tell Palestinians what their liberation struggle's goal is going to be. For a long time, it was one state they called a secular democratic Palestine.
That's all he does,
Over the course of the 1970s and 80s, the PLO moved to accepting partition. Now partition has probably become impossible. So Palestinians need to have that conversation. But what I think the critical role for the U.S. is essentially to show Palestinians that if they resist their oppression in a way that conforms to international law and is ethical, that we will support it.
And is ethical. And is ethical. He's pushing to vilify armed resistance against settler colonialism. He is pushing to vilify armed struggle against colonization. And that's what he's advocating for. That is what the Majority Report is platforming and pushing and is unwilling to question. Understand that this is liberal Zionist propaganda through and fucking through. He was just in a Zionist entity at some fucking make-believe fucking college, excusing for why he violated BDS. Even nonviolence is not legitimate for them or too much of a fucking sacrifice not to participate in. He had to go to the fucking college. Oh, and all his defenders, all his fucking defenders. We have to speak to the other side. Yeah, that's how Palestinians earn their liberation. By normalizing Zionist institutions and by talking to them as if they're fucking rational beings. I'm going to make a whole ass video on that, though, believe me.
To show Palestinians that if they resist their oppression in a way that conforms to international law and is ethical, that we will support it. Because
then we'll support it. If you do it the way we fucking tell you to do it, if you fucking jump when we tell you to jump and how we tell you to jump, then we'll support your liberation. But until that, we'll continue to arm your fucking genocide. And tell myself I shouldn't be cursing so much. And so I pull this up to say sometimes it's pushed in a more blatant manner. To the Majority Report viewer, they think this is great. Peter Beinart, oh my gosh. The poster boy of liberal Zionism, Peter Beinart. A true Palestinian ally, Peter Beinart. They love this shit. To us, it's more blatant and repulsive. But this other fool, fucking the new white of the week over here, for us at least, Jasper Nathaniel, is still pushing that same fucking narrative, just a little bit different. A little bit more smooth. He looks like a smooth operator. Look at him. All right.
One of the things that has made Hamas more successful is the fact that the United States has relentlessly defeated and opposed and shut down what I would call ethical Palestinian resistance to oppression.
What the fuck does a Zionist know about ethics? What the fuck does a Zionist know about ethics? Fuck. These people are shameless. Absolutely shameless. They will pass judgment on you. They will pass judgment on the people they colonize. They will pass judgment on the people whose subjugation benefits them financially and in their careers. They'll wag their finger at you as you starve.
We have, every time the Palestinians have gone to the United Nations or the International Criminal Court, we supposedly are the great defenders of the liberal international order. We want to use the International Criminal Court to punish the Russians. But literally, when the Palestinians try to use these mechanisms that we supposedly believe in, we literally talk about defunding the International Criminal Court. When we say, why don't you produce Palestinian Gandhis? And then when they create a boycott, divestment, sanction, you don't have to agree with every aspect of BDS. But if you basically...
Oh, he was signaling it. Oh, wow. I didn't even remember that part. He was signaling it then. He was signaling it then. This is why we rewatched it. Oh, wow. Okay, let me see. Let me pull this up right now then. But this is going to be a major part of the video that I'm going to work on maybe next, because this rebrand of Zionism is too abhorrent at this point. Let me see. And when I first caught wind of this, I remember seeing somebody post just a section of the chapter on like college boycotts of BDS, and to demonstrate how he was straight up violating it. Like this, Peter Beinart, what was this? November 25th. Okay. Tonight, I'm going to speak at Tel Aviv University. I know many people who I respect will think this was the wrong decision, given that Israel, as widely recognized by experts on the international law, practices not only apartheid but genocide. He acknowledged genocide and apartheid. Clearly, he's pro-Palestinian, and that's why he's speaking at Tel Aviv University. I support full equality for Israel's Palestinian citizens on... Fuck, man. That sentence alone is so fucking dystopian. Is there a specific, because someone help me out. Is there a specific word regarding colonized people and their normalization that dystopian doesn't accurately represent, right? Because let me see, because now I'm interested. Is there a word for this? Okay. So the definition of dystopian is, I'm not going to use AI, but anyways, relating to or denoting an imagined state or society where there is great suffering or injustice. But see, that is the reality of colonized people. So, because that sentence is so fucking like terrifying. I support the equality of Israel's Palestinian citizens, right? Tell me that doesn't give off like dystopian vibes, but it's not dystopian. I wonder if there's a unique word. So Sarah Fanon would have come up with it. If anyone has the Twitch chat, in brackets, don't laugh. Yeah, yes. Surreal. Yeah, surreal would definitely be along those lines. Is there, because I know this, like this dystopian science fiction, is there like colonial science fiction, like colonized science fiction? Help me out here. Surreal, would that be it? I just feel like surreal is lacking something, a little je ne sais quoi. Jenny said what? Having the qualities of surrealism, bizarre. It is bizarre, but it's a little bit more daunting than that. Yeah, post-apocalyptic, but that's kind of what dystopian kind of gives off, right? Call it colonial realism, like capitalist realism, except for colonialism. Well, I already stole settler realism. I guess. Fucking settler realism, right? Like, is that just another branch of what I'll continue branding my only contribution to the left? Settler realism? Fuck March Fisher. I'm gonna take everything you worked for. That is, I mean, that is, right? The idea that there can be equality for the colonial subjects, like equality under the settler colonial project, is par and par with settler realism, yeah. Like it is dystopian, but again, like it's just, but it's a reality, right? Okay, yeah. Let's refocus. My apologies. Yeah, you're right. In brackets, don't laugh. Surreal and dystopian are both fantasy, and this is real. Yeah, that's the problem, right? That's the problem. Thank you all for humoring me. But I think that is important. Like, I mean, identifying and finding words and creating a language. And I'm sure we're all missing something. I'm sure, where are my nerds at? You know what I mean? But maybe I'm not expanding settler realism enough. Okay, where were we? Tonight I'm going to speak at Tel Aviv University. I know many people who I respect will think this was the wrong decision. I mean, then you don't fucking respect them. Given that Israel, as widely recognized by experts on international law, practiced not only apartheid, but genocide. But I'm still going to legitimize them further. Okay, cool. See, they're willing to hear opposing point of views. Isn't that so civilized? I support full equality for Israel's Palestinian citizens. I support full equality for Israel's Palestinian citizens. Ugh. An end to the occupation. Oh, okay. And the right of Palestinian refugees to return. Okay. Emphasis on refugees, by the way. Meaning they have to be refugees. If they settled into where they were forced to find refuge, then maybe they don't, because then the definition of refugee gets a little tricky. I support many forms of boycott. Clearly you fucking don't. Divestment and sanction against Israel, just not this form. And Israeli institutions. I have repeatedly advocated implementing the Leahy law, which, but since it's not being enforced, then here I go. I have repeatedly advocated implementing the Leahy law, which would radically restrict, if not end, U.S. arms sales to Israel. Because God forbid you call for an arms embargo. I support the European Union ending its free trade agreement with Israel. I support ending Israeli participation in sports and cultural arenas like FIFA and Eurovision. I support these things because I don't believe that Israel will end its oppression of the Palestinian people and move towards equality under the law and historical justice without outside pressure. But chat, since Peter Beinart is going to be inside the Zionist entity, he can't apply outside pressure. You see, so when you go inside the Zionist entity, you don't have to abide by BDS because you can't provide outside pressure. Peter Beinart, no wonder he's a Majority Report guest and favorite. We're not thinking the way that these liberal Zionists think. They're ahead of the game. This is why we have to follow their lead. But I believe there is value in speaking to Israelis about Israel's crimes. And there's no way of doing that without going to Tel Aviv University. I have spent much of my adult life speaking to Jews about Israel's treatment of Palestinians. In that effort, I've conducted public discussions with many people whose views I considered immoral and spoken at many institutions that are based on principles with which I profoundly disagree. These include institutions like Tel Aviv University that are in various ways complicit in Israeli oppression. In many ways. Complicit in Israeli oppression. You mean in the genocide of Palestinians? I do so because I want to reach Jews who disagree with me, because I believe that by trying to convince Jews to rethink their support for Israel's oppression of Palestinians, I can contribute in some very small way to the struggle for freedom and justice. I don't have many opportunities to speak to Israelis. Why? You don't get enough fucking vacations? Your boss isn't like, why wouldn't you, motherfucker? Why wouldn't you? As it is, the right wing. Oh, the right wing. Oh, my bad. It's the right wing. Ugh. Sorry, bro. My bad. Okay, now I see who the real bad guys are. Now I see who's preventing you from doing this more frequently. I don't have many opportunities to speak to Israelis as it is. Right-wing Israeli organizations have pressured Tel Aviv University to cancel my talk. He's being canceled by the right-wing Israelis? Fucking hero. I felt I should take advantage of this opportunity to say in Israel what I've been saying elsewhere for the last 2 years. This opportunity, y'all. It's not a career, it's an opportunity. I know many people I admire. Again, you don't admire them. You think they're fucking stupid for believing your lies, but okay. We'll disagree with this logic because it's not logic, because it's illogical. But it stems from my desire. It's just, oh man. To challenge Jewish supremacy and see the end of Israel's oppression of the Palestinian people. See the end of Israel's oppression of the Palestinian people. Not the end of the Zionist entity. Not the end of the Zionist entity. Not the end to the colonization of Palestine, but the end of the repression of the Palestinian people. And then, I mean, I think Ali is just too kind of a human being. It's not too late for you to heed Palestinians' call to boycott these genocidal institutions. He went there anyways. And this is what the BDS movement had to say. Palestinians condemn Peter Beinart's event at complicit Tel Aviv University. In the midst of Israel's genocide in Gaza, whitewashing genocide can never be reconciled with any claim to humanism or moral consistency. And so this is something I'm going to cover in the video that I'm going to be working on after the Grand Planner one. Let me double check. Let me play again. Even if it's a majority report, I don't want to be accused of stealing their content. So let me go ahead and play. I keep playing the Millennials episode. Is that cool, or should I play something different? I don't know how many people. And tomorrow, if everything's good, glorified. Tomorrow, we might be doing something interesting. I'll be right back. Y'all heard that. This is utter complete bullshit. And so they start pushing this line because of Chomsky. And you start seeing how these, liberal Zionists or left Zionists start to spread their propaganda. And you have complete idiots that want to align with white supremacy, like the Vanguard, Zach and Gavin, push that forward. And it got to the point to where they literally ended up blocking me by saying, I think it's fair to say that there were some Zionist, leaders, some founders of Israel that had good intentions. They just went about it the wrong way. That's how these two white dudes from the Midwest were talking about settler colonialism. And for me, that drives me fucking crazy because I'm like, you're a white supremacist. I don't give a fuck if you know. I don't care if you know that you're promoting Zionist propaganda. I don't care whether or not you know or recognize that you're supporting white supremacy. Because the worst part is you think you're being intelligent by quoting Chomsky, by referencing Chomsky. I don't know if it's self-preservation. I don't know if it's just, unconscious alignment with white supremacy. I don't know, and I don't care. Because at the end of the day, the material effect that you're having is spreading this propaganda to your larger audience. And silencing and pushing away and ridiculing, like making me seem like I was crazy for pushing back against it. And what do they do post October 7th? They try to profit off the genocide of Palestinians. And it's like, this is why I find these people to be abhorrent, disgusting, and insidious, and need to be challenged. At the very least, their allegiance to white supremacy and settler colonialism has to be documented. The video that I'm currently working on, Grand Platinum, I'm literally starting off the video with, a collection of all the excuses that I didn't know what that was. I'm not an expert in Nazi symbolism to know what that was. The third most popular Nazi symbol. The first is the swastika. The second is the SS Thunderbolts. The third is the Totenkopf, the death skull. Literally the emblem on top of like SS soldiers' hats. Let's stop pretending. But every single one of them making excuses. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. And again, I think this is in the video I talk about white ignorance in attempt to gain white innocence. And this is your job. This is your career. You chose to do this. Nobody forced you into this space. You were busy calling Trump and everyone in his cabinet fascist, white supremacist this, white supremacist that, and you're financially benefiting from that. And you're not even engaging with like white supremacist symbolism. I used to work, I joke around at a not so mom and pop shop coffee place. And there was this guy, I was along a freeway, and he was a trucker. We had people from all around the country. And big white dude, big beard. And I saw tattoos, this and that. Something rubbed me the wrong way. He used to go by Rick. And then out of nowhere, he started coming in and he started saying that his name was Thor. And I'm like, oh, this guy's a fucking Nazi, like straight up white supremacist. I'm like, dope. But I had no evidence. And all my coworkers at the time were like, this Carlos is fucking crazy, whatever. Right? And so I didn't tell him quite yet until I had to have proof. How loud was the bark for y'all? My bad. My bad. It is weird being on here this late. All right. Let's get back to the main one. God damn, what are we going to get through today? I got distracted. We'll wrap this up and then we'll get back to the main. I just wanted to make that connection. And I hope y'all are seeing it. And I know we got a little distracted at sidebar, but I hope that y'all are seeing what I'm concerned about, and why I'm like, nah, this Jasper guy, he might be doing good in the short run, but what he's doing in the broad sense is normalizing the Zionist entity by trying to push forward that with enough pressure, enough documentation, that they will somehow be able to push, justice. Utter fucking bullshit, utter normalization. And you see it more blatantly with Peter Beinart, where he's saying we have to reward ethical resistance. And he can't even abide by BDS. Even that is too much for him. And he wants to talk about ethics. From 2023 to 1 day ago. From 2023, December 25th, 2023 to 1 day ago. Still, the majority report pushing, platforming the same fucking narrative that the Zionist entity, the Settler Colonial Project, can be reformed. Buenas noches, Toribio. Buenas noches.
For a 15-year-old American citizen who has been arrested or kidnapped, really, there's no other word for it, kidnapped by a foreign military, ostensibly for the worst crime that they could come up with is throwing a rock. I mean, it's incredible that it took that much, but it's good to know that they can be shamed. But what also it's clear is that the story, and just coincidentally, there's a piece out by Ben Rhodes in the Times yesterday, who is a former Obama foreign policy advisor. It is quite clear the amount of influence that we in the United States have over what Israel does, at least within certain parameters, if there's a decision to exercise it. And what we have seen, I think, is like clearly these things show is a complete absence of willingness to exercise that leverage.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the thing that it seems like finally pushed things over the edge was that after some momentum started to build, when like Van Hollen started speaking about it pretty regularly, Merkley, Peter Welch from Vermont, and a couple others, the Israeli embassy in Washington circulated a memo that, they tried to do it in secret, but, I got a hold of it pretty much immediately from one of the lawmakers. They circulated a memo to the lawmakers who had been speaking on Mohammed's behalf, full of lies, misinformation, and omissions to basically smear Muhammad as a criminal, to deny that he was having any health issues, which we knew that he was, and to basically try to encourage them to shut up about it. And so what happened was that leaked. And then separately, Netanyahu's office finally put out a statement after they were pressured enough. And they basically, Netanyahu doubled down and said he's being charged with committing a potentially deadly crime. And so after those two things happened, me and some others in the family and some organizations started going back to these lawmakers and showing them, here are the actual medical reports that we were able to get from the prison that show that he has a severe weight loss, that show that he's contracted scabies. Here is the evidence that contradicts everything that was said by the Israeli embassy and Netanyahu. They're trying to make you look like idiots. They're lying to you. They're manipulating you. And that then triggered a bunch of these lawmakers to then start putting in calls directly to the Israeli authorities, to the prime minister's office, to the prison system. It triggered media. ABC did a story where they asked for comment from them. So basically what happened was we caught Israel in a number of categorical lies where they had contradicted what their own prison medical records were saying, where Netanyahu was contradicting what the actual charging document said. And that had to be pointed out directly to these lawmakers, who then finally were like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. And so the reason I make that point is because, we've talked before, obviously, about I think the value of independent journalism versus mainstream journalism. This took months and months and months and months of pressure and reporting to be able to get all this stuff, to connect these dots, to find these contradictions, to then put it over to the lawmakers to force their hand. Whereas to the extent that any mainstream news outlet even covered this at all, and I should say the New York Times did not, but it's one story and then they forget about it. And there's just really, virtually no impact from that. So it took sort of relentless campaign of activists, of, independent journalists, of organizations, of the family to shame and pressure lawmakers until I think it basically became a big enough headache for them that they then started pressuring the Israeli government. It became a headache for them. And finally, with really no fanfare at all, they just sort of let him out.
Well, the rock throwing thing I just think is important to linger on for a bit, because
she's gonna say something so fucking basic, and she's gonna it is pathetically hilarious how these overly educated white people think they say profound shit. We're gonna wrap up this section shortly, but I don't want anyone coming away with this segment thinking that I'm not happy with the results. Again, my concern is we can't have surface level analysis. We just can't afford to do that. And so sometimes they give us these small victories, and some of these small victories are literally saving the life of a child. And I know it sounds disparaging. I know it sounds disrespectful. I know it sounds, hell, even ungrateful to say that this is a small victory. And then as the interview goes on, he's going to say that it also helped release the kids that were arrested alongside him. So again, I understand that aspect of it. But unfortunately, we have to be a little bit broader with our view and our analysis than that. Because this is how settler colonial projects legitimize themselves and fool us, colonized people in general, into believing that there is some salvation in reform. That there is salvation in reform. And the moment that we accept that, the moment that we celebrate that, the victory is truly theirs. Now, that's not to say that the individuals themselves shouldn't be celebrating this. Of course they should. But again, I mean, if we're studying and we're trying to analyze and understand the settler colonial beast, then we need to broaden our view.
One, there's even biblical symbolism in it too, with David v. Goliath, which obviously Israel doesn't want to think about. But they've been.
Hey guys, did you ever think that the stone throwing thing is kind of like David versus Goliath? Have you ever thought of that? In fact, hold on. Thank God that I kind of sort of reorganized. And then we talked about Maxi earlier. Hey guys, do you ever think that perhaps, and nobody's, I'm sure no one's ever thought of this before, but Emma Vigeland has just came up with this comparison that, you know, there's biblical symbolism behind the stone throwing, and you know, Palestinians being like David, and the Israelis that have the right to exist because they do exist and they're there, and where else are they gonna go? They're kind of like Goliath. You ever thought about that? Has that ever crossed your mind? No one has ever thought of that. Yep. So doing anything, no one. It just without Emma Vigeland, it's not even Max Blumenthal's either. But it's kind of funny that we were talking about this Nepo baby earlier. God damn it, bro. So fucking pathetically shallow and unoriginal and self-aggrandizing. Is just so masturbatory. It's fucking pathetic. That's why, why do I ever question myself? Why do I have any self-doubt? And I'm talking to you. You're watching this right now. Never question your legitimacy. Never question your credentials. Never question your knowledge. Never question your right to take up space, to exist. Never question yourself. Not even for a brief moment, knowing that Emma Vigeland is out there in the world, believing that she is intelligent, original, and somehow deep. That she has profound thoughts. Never in your life do I ever want you for a fucking second to doubt yourself, because she's out there somehow breathing, somehow managing to breathe all on her own, believing that she had. Anyways, but I'm just a sexist. I'm just a misogynist. Fuck it.
Using this excuse to crack down on protesters or any Palestinian resistance since, you know, I guess even prior to the first Intifada, and they didn't even realize that Israeli law treats stone throwing as a felony, has a maximum penalty.
I forgot she said that. No fucking wonder her boss, Sam Cedar's like, 5 months without a trial? Now, why would Israel do that? Even if it was legitimate stone throwing. And of course, the most bland, uncharismatic, unsavory piece of Wonder Bread tube, Emma Vigeland, says, oh, I see you, boss. You made a fool out of yourself. Let me show you that I could. You hired me to drop the bar even lower. You hired me after Microbooks to make sure that you will never be overshadowed again, both comedically and intellectually. Jesus Christ. Why did I ever think I couldn't do this? Why?
Or any Palestinian resistance since, you know, to crack with, which obviously Israel doesn't want to think about.
Look at her. Sorry. Look at her smug smile. I just realized this. And then we'll move forward because, yes, misogyny, it's me. I'm the problem. Yeah. White women have never done anything to be held accountable equal to white men.
Is important to linger on for a bit because, one, there's even biblical symbolism in it too, with David v. Goliath, which obviously Israel doesn't want to think about. But they've been.
She's so proud of herself. She's so fucking proud of herself. Like, bro. Why do I have low self-esteem?
Using this excuse to crack down on protesters or any Palestinian resistance since, you know, I guess even prior to the first Intifada, and they didn't even realize that Israeli law treats stone throwing as a felony, has a maximum penalty of up to 20 years, which just gives people a sense of one.
I'm convinced they don't actually research this shit. I'm convinced this is her fucking job. She works maybe 4 times a week. How? If this was my job, I promise you, I would I just stop because I'm just hyper fixating on this, and it's guys. The truth is that a white woman rejected me once, and I just never got over it. Like there was white people around me.
The asymmetry of this conflict, I say in quotes, and two, the draconian nature of Israeli
Why?
law.
Wait, well, why would you say it in quotes? Just don't call it a conflict. Just don't call it a fucking conflict. Why do you need to do the quotes thing? Why? Why?
Years, which just gives people a sense of like, one, the asymmetry of this conflict, I say in quotes, and two, the draconian nature of Israeli law and how it's even able to implement it, right? Just given the nature, it's talked about as if these are two sovereign entities, but the fact that Israel can charge a child essentially with a felony charge because Israel controls that area or can kidnap that kid because of the illegal occupation in the West Bank says everything here.
And the kids who they pick up on rock throwing charges are known as security prisoners. That puts them in the same category as like a Hamas fighter that was arrested after October 7th. They are treated under the same terror laws in Israel. They have the same conditions. Ben-Gvir oversees it. When you hear Ben-Gvir talking about starving terrorists in prison, torturing them, wanting the death penalty, that is capturing these kids who are accused of throwing stones. That's
I'm gonna let him finish, but oof. This one got me heated.
It's also the security prisoner designation is what Israel used to just unilaterally decide after October 7th that they were going to violate international law by barring Red Cross visits to security prisoners because it was a threat to Israeli national security. So connecting all these dots, what we're saying is kids like Mohammed and the other kids who were arrested with him, which I want to get back to in 1 second, these are treated by Israel as terrorists in the same way that a Hamas fighter would be treated and subjected to the same conditions. I want to just also make a.
Here's my issue, and I'm not saying he's doing this. I'm not. Am I saying it? I don't know. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because I don't know enough about his work. And I do have. I am biased. I'm biased against him. And I know that he was just on with Bad Hasbro, with Matt Lieb, and Matt Lieb is one of the most disgusting opportunists. Like Matt Lieb is a foul human being. The way that he has, both in his career, financially, his popular, everything. Outside of the military-industrial complex, I can't think of someone that has benefited more from the genocide of Palestinians than Matt Lieb. Outside of somebody connected to the industrial military complex, both in politics, both in the private sector, I'm not sure if I can think of anyone that has benefited more, whose life has in tens of folds improved off of the suffering, off of the death, off of the extermination, off of the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians more than Matt Lieb, as he spreads liberal Zionist propaganda alongside his co-host David Mattei or Daniel Mattei. I really can't. And even more so than Peter Beinart, more so than Majority Report. Yeah. So, anyway. Sonny, Nathaniel was on Doctors Against Genocide, where he was much more capable in his remarks, best and most real interactions to judge him by. But then it becomes a whole Zoran Mamdani thing. Which Nathaniel, which Jasper are we talking to here? And why would there be a switch up? For me, consistency is key to judging someone. And so, but my issue with this section here is, and this argument, is that he doesn't go out of his way to say, hey, maybe he's done it somewhere else, but in this moment, he has not done it. To say, he's saying, these kids are treated so badly that they're treated equal to Palestinian resistance fighters, to Hamas members. Isn't that awful? Absolutely it is. Excuse me. Absolutely it is. Palestinian resistance fighters, Hamas members, who have you, shouldn't be treated that way either. You get what I'm saying? Like without making that point, you lead someone to believe that, oh, those kids shouldn't be treated like the bad guys. Or those kids shouldn't be treated like real threats to the Zionist entity. They're just children throwing stones. And you don't stop to acknowledge that the very same members of Hamas, members of Palestinian resistance forces, whatever factions they may be, they were all that kid. They were all those children. And those children may grow up to try and liberate, to put their life on the line, to liberate their land from colonization. And even then, they won't deserve that treatment. So if you're not going out of your way to acknowledge and to fight and to push against the propaganda, the vilification of Palestinian resistance fighters, then you're contributing to it. When you make the comparison, they're even being treated like actual villains. Then yeah, you're fucking vilifying resistance fighters. Tell me I'm fucking reaching though.
Good point that, you know, I think that the reason that I really latched on to Muhammad's case and some others did.
Watch the rest of this on your own. I'm done with this. We did get sidetracked too much with the Peter Bynard thing, but I want to highlight how even 2 years, literally almost 2 years to the date, just a few weeks off, you're still pushing this kind of narrative that the Zionist entity can be salvaged. They're still pushing this narrative, a little bit more subtle, in vilifying armed resistance. I did say I was going to go over his article. Fuck it. It's late. I'm getting hungry. I'm going to have to change the title of this stream. I'm not going to lie. And we might have to save some things for later. Again, it's been a weird day. If I didn't, look, if all I did was sit on my ass, I would have streamed normally. But I don't. And I'm not saying I'm making a huge difference. But sometimes I got union shit to take care of, and I got union shit to take care of. That's not to say I wasn't like trying to come up with an excuse so I could stream, but I was like, no, I can't be like the Sam Cedars. I can't be like the Emma Viglins, the Hassan Pikers. They can't even fucking show up to a DSA meeting. I'm looking for that article, right? What is it good? Did they link it? They should have linked it, right? All their shit. And they didn't link it. No way. That's kind of grimy. Why would he even link his article? Is it this one? Okay, there you go. No, but I wanted the good. God damn, I hate this so much, bro. I'm so sorry. I hate this so fucking much. There's some like white hippie woman shit. This is, why would you take a picture of this and publish it, man? Wow. I actually do want to read this article. It sounds great. I'm a hater, but I'm going to be honest too. Let's read this. Let's knock it out. Fuck it. Fuck it. Let's knock this shit out. I appreciate y'all sticking around. Hit the like button if you don't mind. Hit the notification bell if you want to know when I go live. Let me know how the time change feels for y'all. Maybe it could be a little bit more consistent if I knock things out in the morning instead. Let me know. Super chats, super stickers are turned on. Check out the Patreon. I'm making the Discord accessible to $2 donations tier at the $2 tier. And just because I want to see the community grow, I want to make sure that everybody has a space to talk their shit and share their knowledge. Talk their shit and share their knowledge, you know? All right. Blue Eagle. To be honest, I really appreciate this community. Haven't felt good in an online political space in well ever. again, I'm always going to push. Most of y'all, I think, come from that area, but still, just in case, Black Liberation Media, I mix what I like. Why Sedone TV? Why Sedone TV? Why Sedone TV? CJ doing his thing now, which, I mean, man, saying the sky's the limit, it doesn't even begin to describe his potential, that he will undoubtedly meet and exceed. No pressure, homie. Millennials are killing capitalism. If you know, if you want to work on your anti-white racism, because we denounce that, because the white man is the most oppressed man in all of history and civilization. But you know, there's other spaces. I'm trying to do my best to push the Patreon and the Discord, but also like remind people that, you know, I'm against that parasocial shit to begin with, but we have a good time. It's hard when we have a good time. All right. And to demonstrate that we're not just haters, that we don't just talk shit around here. We do the reading. We give people the opportunity, the chance to show us what they got, right? All right. Good settler, bad settler. What this week's flood of Israeli condemnation reveals about the state's true relationship with settlers. And again, this is on Infinite Jazz. If you want to go subscribe to his Substack, Jasper, what was his name? Or Nathaniel Jasper, or Jasper Nathaniel. I don't know. Is that two last names? Is that like some, it's, why people do that shit? I don't know. All right. This is from November 16th, so not too far removed. This week, after masked settlers torch a mosque, set fire to Palestinian trucks, and beat farmers bloody. All right, I gotta stop doing my mocking voice. Hold on. All right. This week, after masked settlers torch a mosque, set fire to Palestinian trucks, and beat farmers bloody during what the UN calls the worst olive harvest for settler violence since it began keeping track in 2006, things finally got bad enough that Israeli authorities felt compelled to issue strongly worded statements. The IOF told Haaretz that the violent settlers are fringe anarchist teenagers who need intervention from welfare and education institutions. Maybe that's why Peter Beinart went. Maybe Peter Beinart wants to go help these poor, troubled anarchist Zionist teenagers. I think we all owe Peter Beinart an apology. Shame on us for jumping to conclusions and thinking that he is just a fucking opportunist, and that's all his career's been based off of. That's why he was literally called the poster boy of liberal Zionism. Shame on us. Shame on us for having a negative view on him writing a book about the Jewish identity amidst the Holocaust of Palestinians. Shame on us. We need to be better, chat. These white saviors need more praise. Can we get a sorry Peter in the chat? Can we all own up to our misconceptions, to our biases? Can we please? Come on, chat. Let me see. Sorry, Peter. Let's own up to it. Army Chief Yael Zamir called them a criminal minority, tarnishing a law-abiding public. President Isaac Herzog said the attacks were committed by a handful of perpetrators. The head of the Army Central Command, that's gonna say Maj, Major General Avi Bluth. I mean, they make up names, so I don't know, you know. Complained about responding to an anarchist French youth that diverts resources from counterterrorism. Yisha Council Chairman Yisrael Gantz, who represents the settlers, condemned the small groups of extremist anarchists, while Samira's regional council leaders denounced the small band of rioters who travel from place to place with the intent to provoke unrest and behave violently. Even the celebrity Rabbi Shmuley Botich decried hooliganism and vigilante justice by a few rotten apples. The game is the fucking same. All right, cool. I think enough of us said sorry. The chat is officially no longer anti-Semitic, according to Emma Viglin. I hate it here. Okay. Of course, these claims don't match what's happening on the ground. The idea that this is just a youth is plainly inaccurate. It is certainly true that teenagers, even children, are often put on the front lines. Some outposts even register as foster homes to recruit at-risk minors into the hilltop movement. But many of the most violent settlers are full-grown men. Yanan Levy, who murdered Adwa Hathalin in al-Kahir, is 31. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to joke about it, but goddamn, like he's just 31. Grant Planner was a child into his late 20s, early 30s. So I don't know where the majority report falls on this, to be honest. Ariel Dahiri, the man I filmed clubbing a grandmother, is in his 20s. The leader of the nearby outpost, who waved his pistol at us and is known to orchestrate these attacks, appears to be in his 40s or 50s. Maybe, but also Europeans don't belong there, so I don't know if the sun is making them look older. It's hard to square the idea of a small band of roaming extremists with the reality of 8 attacks per day across the entire West Bank, from the Hebron Hills in the south to the Tolkom Governorate in the north, launched from a network of outposts embedded in virtually every region of the occupied territory. And then there's the characterization of the violence itself. Saying these attacks divert resources from counterterrorism assumes by definition that the settlers carrying them out are not terrorists themselves. They're fucking pioneers, guy. They're pioneers. I don't realize how horrible these headphones are until I take them off. My apologies there. Okay. And that tracks. We know exactly how the state behaves when it does view something as terrorism. In Bethlehem, this week, the Shin Bet and IDF, the IOF, carried out coordinated raids across 15 sites, arrested 50 alleged Hamas operatives, seized weapons, and rushed the case materials to military prosecutors, claimed that they've stopped an imminent attack. It sounds like the fucking FBI, bro. By contrast, in Turmas Ayaya, where dozens, if not more than 100 settlers launched a very real, not imminent attack, it took 3 weeks to make a single arrest, even as authorities continue blocking Palestinian activists and journalists from reaching the olive fields where the violence is taking place. Hold on. My apologies. Give me 1 second. Sorry, it was just a mail carrier, but this was acting like it was an imminent attack over here. And he's such a crybaby. I was like, relax. And I grabbed the mail, and it was just literally like one piece of like, they always sent like bank like notices of like, hey, apply, or you've been pre-approved or whatever. It's like the most flimsy, just so I went like that to him, and he acted like fucking The first Mexican fucking husky over here. All dramatic. You know I'm talking shit. Cálmate, güey. Cálmate, güey. Cálmate. He's so fucking dramatic. All right, where are we? My apologies, y'all. What's his name? I don't think I've ever said his name on stream, have I? I don't know. I don't know if I want to give out his name, his identity. We'll keep it anonymous for now. My bad. Again, I'm trying to mitigate. You know, the all right. I hope y'all understand. Hand-on dog, that's cool. I like that. Especially like whatever your position is on whether Hassan Piker shocked his dog or not, whatever. He for sure uses his dog as a prop, without question. And so I'm like trying to, like, I don't want to be that. Yeah. He didn't ask to be on camera. All right. He hasn't consented to. Yeah. I did show him on camera once, so I felt like Michael when I should have held him out. He's curled up right now. He does not want to get up, or else I would. Scarlett, I would. He's curled up right now. Again, it's like California cold. It's California cold. Have I bought a jacket? Perhaps. But we don't really get a chance to do that so often. But it's California cold, and this fool like curls up like it's a blizzard outside. And when I'm here, he's here. So I don't know why. It's the most. Y'all are funny. It's funny to navigate the whole and then we'll get back to the article. Like, you know, the ojo or ojo de venado, like all that stuff is so like culturally like in part of my childhood. Like if you're brown and you haven't been to a curandera, if you haven't been to like some type of like shaman, bruja, whatever you feel comfortable with, if you haven't gone through that or known of it, or like been, maybe it wasn't you, but you were there when, you know, they came to visit or what have you. I don't know. Like, I think maybe I'm pretty whitewashed, but I felt like certain things are pretty standard, and that's one of them. Or maybe it's gotten less popular as time has progressed, but as it does. But it's hard to like balance that cultural stuff with being like, I'm an atheist and I can't believe in that stuff, right? Because it's such a culturally rich part of our identity that I'm like, curanderas, you know, shamans, all that shit. And I'm sure other people grew up with it even more, right? Because if your family members or you have somebody within your family that actually practices that, then you're gonna have better knowledge and understanding. It's gonna have more of a cultural impact on your childhood or on your identity than, you know, than I would. In fact, it's very, very weird. Again, I don't like to share too much, but like religion was fucking absent. Like yes, I was baptized in like all good Mexican Catholics, but like it was never, religion never really played a factor in any of parts of my family in any way, which is really kind of rare. How dogs go to heaven? That's all I gotta know. That's all I gotta know. All right. Let's get back to it. Where are we? Where are we? Okay, yeah. It took 3 weeks to make a single arrest, even as authorities continue blocking Palestinians, activists, and journalists from reaching the olive fields where the violence is taking place, and calling the attacks vigilante justice suggests that the underlying cause is legitimate and that the issue is merely that private citizens are taking on a role the state should handle. This is on fucking point. Yes, when I first read Vigilante Justice, is like, well, your complaint is this, right? Like the very, kick-ass type of like vigilante shit that we think about due to cultural media. Or if you want to be more real with it, and the true parallels is, oh shit, I was gonna say Dylan Roof, but that's not his name. Cal Rittenhouse, excuse me. They all look the same to me. Cal Rittenhouse is a settler, is a colonizer. And he took justice to his own hands. Now, I have a weird position when it comes to that, in being that the two people that he took out were white, and one of them had like a weird kind of pedal thing going on, so I don't give a fuck. It's kind of wild to say, but I'm kind of glad that he got off, because with no charges, he scot-free. As a reminder that we're still in the settler colonial project, and that settlers can still take up arms, do whatever the fuck they want with them, and carry out this vigilante justice, and receive no punishment for it. To remind us that this is still a settler colonial project. That's what the fucking Second Amendment is for. That is what the Second Amendment is for. So I do appreciate this part. Credit to him. Not that he would give a fuck what my brown ass thinks, but yes. This is completely accurate. Calling the attacks vigilante justice suggests that the underlying cause is legitimate. But here's where it gets a little tricky. In a settler colonial project, especially in the so-called frontier, that is the role of the colonizer, the settler expanding the frontier, is to carry out justice in the so-called like Wild West, and the unruly, and the untamed, and the uncivilized, in the wilderness, right? Okay. Meanwhile, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, who is actually in charge of law enforcement, did what he always does, said the quiet part out loud, declaring that he was proud the police were not harassing Hilltop youth members. Quote, the days of police using the Hilltop youth as a punching bag are over, he said. And we do appreciate when these colonizers, when these white supremacists are upfront, when they're honest, when they're direct. Man. But no, the whole fucking Kyle Rittenhouse thing, it's so fucking annoying, because if you need further evidence that this whole fucking non-violence show up with their, hands up, and you need further evidence. They show up prepared. They show up ready. And where does that put us? Looking for salvation, looking for protection from the state itself. Going to protest the state and seeking protection from the state, or by the state, from the so-called vigilante enforcers. And so when we say that we need to embrace arming ourselves, educating ourselves, and our Second Amendment right, YouTube, Twitch, Second Amendment right over here, advocate, that's all I'm saying, is because when you're looking for salvation in your oppressor, what type of fucking resistance is that? They come prepared. The settlers know. The settlers fucking know. They're armed, whether in the Zionist entity or here. They show up armed and ready. And what do we fucking do? We have our little chants. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Again, I'm not advocating for adventurism. I'm not advocating for anything, because there is no organized vanguard movement. I'm just highlighting how fucking hilarious and pathetic it is that they show us how they would do shit, how they do shit on some bacon rebellion ass shit. And what do? We play nice. We have to be law-abiding citizens. Now, will the response be completely different? Well, yes, because we're in opposing positions. They armed, you chanting. Yep. Fucking. Oh, no, 100%. New plastic ideas. Yeah, no, I'm not talking shit about that at all. True, there's a difference between adventurism and defense, yes. All right. Still, the barrage of statements accomplished its goal, shoring up the false dichotomy between the good settler and the bad settler, in which the former supposedly represents the vast, responsible majority. Somebody should report on that majority. And the latter, a tiny fringe. I mean, we really do need to adopt viewing the Sam Cedars, the Tom Pikers, all these propagandists, but just a broader settler monolith in this manner. Yeah, okay. It also gave Israel's allies the breathing room to maintain the blanket support in the face of such heinous images. When asked about spiraling settler violence, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio pointed out to Herzog and the IDF's strong condemnation as evidence that Israel was taking the issue seriously, while also making clear that the problem wasn't the violence itself, but some concern that events in the West Bank could spill over and undermine what we're trying to do in Gaza. Last week, in response to the arrest of Ariel Dahari, the man who clubbed the grandmother Salil in Termosuya, my apologies, I wrote about, if that's a Palestinian name, if it's a Zionist name, I don't give a fuck. I wrote about the evolving relationship between the settler and the state. I mean, if you're just gonna, where are we at? All right, it's not too bad. Okay. I'll be honest, I don't like when don't fluff up this article by restating a previous article. You get what I'm saying? Summarize it and say, hey, for further context, go check this out. But it's just 2 paragraphs or whatever. It's worth remembering that years ago, before settlers rose to the highest levels of government, bro, this is why I can't do this. Before, they're all settlers, motherfucker. They're all settlers. Before settlers rose to the highest levels of government, the Israeli military often found itself chasing them around the hills of the West Bank, frustrated that they were trying to carry out ethnic cleansing on their own terms. Among those being chased were Smotrich and Ben-Gvir themselves, back when they were French provocateurs or provocators, right? Yeah. No, provocateurs. Bon voyage. Rather than government ministers. Their freelance violence created instability the army had to contain, rather than the more orderly state-sanctioned version of land theft carried out throughout official settlement buildings. And like every major Zionist, they were all settlers at one point. I mean, they never stopped being settlers, but they were all actively settling, contributing to the expansion personally, themselves, physically, at one point or another. Look, whatever problematic ass Iran narrative is pushed, Incredibles is one of Pixar's best. I was actually Slightly disappointed with Incredibles 2, but I still enjoyed it very much. But yes, every so often I will be like, Bon Voyage. But Incredible Ones is yeah, just amazing. And I know it's a cliche to say, but it really is the best Fantastic Four movie. If you're gonna read Fantastic Four and you don't want to start from like some of their more mid, but consistent runs, or if you don't want to really focus in on the more their expansive like universe, I would just read Hickman's run. And that gives you like all the core elements of the Fantastic Four without needing too much to read. It's a fairly, I wouldn't say contained run, but it's a very easy run to jump into. Incredibles is anti-Iran, really? Coraline, a Coraline reference is a wild, but yes, great movie. Silly. All right. The Hari's arrest is a faint echo of the old security establishment that sometimes found itself at odds with the settler movement, on tactics, if not intent. But this arrest, more than anything else, looks like an attempt to clean up a PR crisis caused by the video. Whether or not the Hari does real jail time, I have no illusions that it will lead to any real dismantling of the terror network in Tormusayaya and beyond. The ethnic cleansing of the West Bank is and always has been a state-backed project, and a flicker of accountability here does nothing to change that. Who was the chatter? Who was in the chat saying, was it Sunny? Was it Sunny? I hate that YouTube changes the names up or something happened, but that said, oh, he gave there's a better representation of him. I mean, look, this only makes me more suspicious of him, because why would you clean up your act for the majority report? Unless he knows what the majority report's about, which would also say a lot more about both, See, okay, yes, it's a cleaning of the PR, and that is not going to have any true lasting change. But he's just missing that one added step of by him not highlighting that focusing on the PR angle, then you're still advocating and pushing forth this idea that with enough pressure, with enough concern about their PR, they'll do the right thing. But this is better than what he was saying on the majority report. But if you really want to understand this dynamic, not as I describe it, not as the Israeli officials spin it, but as the settler themselves understand it, look no further than the remarkable Hebrew language article published this week in Arutz Shiva, the settler flagship media outlet. Hills, farms, and everything in between, putting the settlement map in order. It's written by Elijah Yared, a 22-year-old far-right activist who has rapidly become one of the most influential ideologues of the Hilltop movement that builds illegal outposts on Palestinian land. I'm sure he smells atrocious. In August 2023, Yared and another settler were arrested on suspicion of involvement in the fatal shooting of 19-year-old Qusay Jamal Matan during a settler raid on the Palestinian village of Burqa. Israeli MKs and minister sprang to his defense when declaring he should be rewarded. Fuck. Again, at least they're fucking honest. Within days, Yared was released from custody. Fuck, man. I still gotta be polite for like another month. But Yared is far from French. He served as the official spokesperson. Chill, bro. Go away, Siri. That's creepy. I've never seen it respond like that. All right. But Yarid is far from, I'm saying it different every time I catch myself. Is far from fringe. He served as the official He served as the official spokesperson for Utsa Yehidit MK Limor son Har Malish, a member of Netanyahu's governing coalition and a close political ally of Ben Gvir. He has helped establish and fundraise for illegal outposts across the West Bank and is deeply embedded in the network that links settlers to the very ministers who oversee Israeli law enforcement. Here's the time of Israel on his arrest. Quote, I suggest security services direct their efforts towards dealing with the nest of terror instead of chasing after settlers who hold on to our land with devotion. Somewhat undercutting the settler position, an unidentified security source told Yanet that Yarid, quote, has been heating things up in the area for a long time, also leading to a rise in Palestinian terror attacks and rock throwing. Always gotta add that in there. The outlet noted that Yarid had in the past called for the erasure of Palestinian villages on social media, as well as for revenge with blood for attacks, saying if security forces did not do so, brave Jews would. So just an absolute maniac, but consistent. In his new op-ed, Yarid opens by brushing aside the official narrative that frames the recent violence as the work of French youth. In his telling, every faction of the settler movement, from the young man who torched olive groves to the leadership of the regional councils, to the state of authorities behind them, operates along a shared continuum, coordinating informally and formally despite tactical disagreements. Again, the honesty. The idea that these actors are isolated from one another, he suggests, is either naive or deliberately misleading. They tell on themselves, y'all. They tell on themselves because they're proud of it. And again, this is why it's easier to confront reactionaries, because they will tell you, whereas the liberals will finesse it. If it was up to Bernie Sanders, this wouldn't be the narrative that is being acknowledged. He then dives into the internal debate that has shaped the modern settler movement. The one I outlined last week over whether Jewish sovereignty in the West Bank should be advanced through authorized state-backed settlement construction or through unregulated land seizure carried out by the vigilantes. For decades, the Israeli security establishment, aligned with the former approach, tried to rein in the Hilltop movement, raiding their outposts, confiscating equipment. Got some colonizer on colonizer violence. Wild. Issuing administrative orders, but the settlers kept pushing forward. Eventually, the state gave up. Gave up, or they came up with a fucking agreement. When Israel realizes it can't eradicate a movement, he argues, it simply redirects it, much like its approach to Hamas, which has long tried to buy off with benefits. Beginning about a decade ago, he writes, Israeli authorities decided it was easier to accommodate settler ambition than to clash with them. They began approving coordinated outposts, usually a trail or tent placed on state land, often just outside the fence of an existing settlement, and turned a blind eye as more remote hills were seized by their less disciplined counterparts. At first, he writes, the state's red line was absolute. No construction outside the settlement fence. Sure. Then the unofficial deal became fine, but don't push too deep into the open areas. Then fine, as long as it's on state land. Then fine, survey land too. Eventually fine anywhere in the Area C. And now he says the limits have expanded again into Area B, supposedly under full Palestinian civil control. To prepare for this next phase, Yarid describes how his network has mapped the most breakable zones in Area B, drafted settlement blueprints and territorial corridors, and assembled dedicated groups to carry out the work. The movement, he boasts, has already established 7 new outposts in these map locations in the past few months alone. And this is what we saw. What was her name? Daniela something, Zionist. Was that her name? Yes. Okay. Daniela Weiss. I mean, this is exactly what she's pushing.
But the next step, Jewish settlements in Gaza, is a very difficult step that demands a lot of work. You have to influence the leftist, the government, the nations of the world, using the magic system, Zionism.
Jesus, man. But like, she straight up pulls out maps. She tries herself to, you know, break into areas that they're not quote unquote permitted into. Okay, here, I think here's the map somewhere here. No. Anyway, I've seen all this and it's utterly fucking disgusting. Is it not here? There's a section here where they talk about a map and she shows them where it's at. I think she might, it's right under her. You can't see it, it's blurred out. But yeah, like it's just utterly fucking disgusting. Watch all of this. It's great. But again, unnecessary. Would this be considered rabid Zionism? I mean, yeah, we're making distinctions, I guess. All right, where are we? Yeah, I read that right. The movement, he boasts, has already established 7 new outposts in these map locations in the past few months alone. This is what it looks like in Tormusa Yaya, where settlers have gradually swallowed more of the olive fields, seizing land, structure, and vantage points from which they now launch their attacks. To state the obvious, Yarir's language is not of a fringe group. It's a language of a political actor confident that the state will eventually ratify whatever facts it creates on the ground. And why wouldn't he be confident? Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has spent the past 2 years fast-tracking the retroactive legislation of dozens of illegal outposts and expanding existing settlements to absorb the surrounding neighborhoods settlers built without approval. In other words, the violent settlers function as a spearhead of official policy. Always have. They always fucking have. I just want to... So now I'm debating whether or not... I think we've done a fair job at demonstrating his writing. He's just going to start quoting other shit. So I'm going to put this in the chat. I'm not going to lie. I forgot that I put the Ethan Klein bullshit. And I'm going to do a better job at encouraging people to go and read on their own or hop on the Discord and read it there. But so that, because Substack's a little bit different and encourages you to subscribe and whatnot, but foot traffic is good for it in general. And I want to be better at not, like, I try not to watch entire videos. I try to just go over highlights. And you do that with articles a little bit more, unfortunately. I mean, that's the point though, isn't it? Plastic Idea. You're wondering what Casper's conclusion is, so it'll entice you to read it yourself. But I don't want to make it seem like I'm like dodging his conclusion or anything like that. Like I said, I think that this article does a better job than his appearance on the Majority Report, and it just makes me more suspicious of the Majority Report, of Casper as well. Like, why would you I don't know, be so shallow in your analysis when clearly you're capable of more? So if it was Sunny or somebody else that pushed another video, If you want to drop the name of that title, I'll check it out on my own and then potentially cover it on stream. Foreign Man, I don't really watch his stuff, to be honest. I don't really find a lot of like I didn't like doing the Superman video. The pop culture stuff's like a little bit like ugh. I've gotten heat on this chat because of it. But I do want to go over the Hakeem Jeffries because that is the title shit. Did I not have it ready? Let me see here if I can find it. Pete. Where is it? Yeah, this is this one. So real quick, if for those of you that don't know, Ethan Klein, Hassan Piker's former business partner and lifelong Zionist, you know, fuck man, like, let me see if I can find this. Let me see if it's still up. Let me do this. Just because it's in the title and I forgot that I put it there. Because I really, it's amusing, but I really don't care. I hope they all go broke. This made me laugh my ass off though. Where is it? I know some of you watch this fool. I'm so suspicious of this guy. I have some accusations that I want to make that I just gotta do a little bit more research on. But I've seen plenty enough to know where I stand with this guy. Entertaining, don't get me wrong. But for those of you that don't know, Ethan Klein, lifelong Zionist and former business partner of Hassan Piker, was suing a bunch of people, which include is it Kaceytron, some white woman, Frogan, which is one of Hassan Piker's mods, and Denims, all for copyright infringement. This could have been avoided if they actually cared about Palestinians and weren't just watching Ethan Klein's content and actually adding information to, you know, essential information that their audience may need. This could have been avoided if they weren't cozying up to Zionists. The reason that Frogan and this whole thing got started, for those of you that don't know, and it's just brief because who gives a fuck. A lot of people are cashing in on this. I don't care enough. These people are disgusting human fucking beings, opportunists through and through, and they all deserve the absolute fucking worst. Frogan was upset that Ethan Klein unfollowed her on Twitter. And that's what started all this drama. Why anyone who is truly an ally to Palestinians would be upset that a Zionist unfollowed them instead of why the fuck would a Zionist follow me speaks volumes to who these people really are. Speaks volume to who they really are. And again, this is all about personalities. This is all about Ethan Klein being a meanie and not about Ethan Klein being a Zionist. And this highlights it right here, watch.
Try to spot some Teddy Fresh. Okay, here we go. Right here, I was wearing a Teddy Fresh shirt. This is the Need a Hug shirt right here. Teddy Fresh. I think I stopped it. Yeah, I stopped wearing Teddy Fresh over here. Where do I still have some Teddy Fresh on? Let's see. This is the Teddy Fresh shirt. Do not worry.
1 year ago.
This right here, this was a collaboration with someone that they did good Teddy's Go to Heaven or something. So I'm wearing Teddy Fresh.
He was wearing Hila Klein's Zionist clothing line 1 year ago. He's Assyrian and he was rocking Zionist gear. He has stated that he spent thousands of dollars on Zionist clothing. The same Zionist clothing that Hassan Piker was rocking. The same Zionist clothing that Hassan Piker used homeless people, used them as props to mock Hila Klein and Ethan Klein after their business partnership fell through.
Right here, as y'all can see, Teddy Fresh. What else? I got to scroll back down. Got to scroll back all the way down. Let's find some more Teddy Fresh. Teddy Fresh right here. This is their... It's also in the thumbnail.
Also, a year ago, he was still rocking Zionist gear. Remind me how long the genocide of Palestinians has been going on for? So understand that these people don't oppose H3H3 because they're Zionists. They oppose them because it is petty fucking personal drama for them that they can profit off of. Their Zionism, there's, white supremacist pro-colonization ideology was insufficient for these people to oppose them. And homeboy here it's dealt with, maybe not personally, but lives in a society that has fallen, victim to Zionist aggression. And he was still supporting an IOF veteran. And he was still supporting Ethan Klein, who still maintains dual citizenship. How do these people expect anyone to take them serious? Because he has mentioned before that if Ethan Klein were to drop the lawsuits that he has against, he just settled the Kaceytron, that he has against Frogan and Denims, that he would respect them and would still want him to denounce his Zionist positions. It's fucking pathetic. But it highlights how it's all personal to them. And it's not about, any principled ideological resistance to, opposition to Zionism. It's about Ethan being a meanie. And I know I'm being broad here, but I put in the title, so I'm like, fuck it. But look at how he talks about all the IOF Zionist gear that he had.
Alien, bro. Teddy Fresh, right here. Promoting it to my audience, time and time again. And again, it's on the thumbnail. The gals will be here on Thursday, guys. Tomorrow, we're doing a tier list ranking American holiday dishes. So all your favorite Thanksgiving and Christmas dishes. Tomorrow, Karim, Noor, and myself are going to be doing a tier list.
Homie, why do you pander to white people to the point where we're going to go over white people dishes? And I kind of want to tap into that just because I want to see. I want to see, like, are you going to bother to put any, like, non-white food in there? I've been saying my fucking break room has been smelling good lately. The people got leftovers stacked on leftovers, and I'm like, all right. Must be nice. Must be nice.
So, are the boys still here? Swampy Boy, are you here? I'm showing you my Teddy Fresh. And Bucks, are you still here, Bucks? Look at all of this. I'm wearing Teddy Fresh here. This is Ela Klein's shirt design. So here's another thumbnail.
Now, I don't know exactly when he puts all this behind a paywall. Nothing wrong with that. Foreshadowing. But anywho. I did screen record him admitting that a while back he was hired as part of the production to document Palestinian refugee camps. So he has seen firsthand and documented the suffering of Palestinians due to the Zionist entity, and this fool was still purchasing IOF fucking streetwear, was still rocking that shit. His whole aesthetics of his channel are H3H3 ripoffs, and he was proud of that shit. He lives, is it Lebanon where he stays at? I forget. I only tap in and tap out a couple of times. But it's disgusting and absolutely embarrassing that a year ago he was still rocking this shit and supporting it. And you know, you can see it here. It says 1 year ago. 1 year ago. Absolutely disgusting. Man. And the only reason that there was a switch up is because it became profitable. It became profitable to switch up. It's truly fucking disgusting. But they try using it as like, oh, see, I used to be a hardcore fan and I changed. They got so, their Zionism got so repulsive that I changed. Homie, their Zionism should have always made you a fucking hater. But it became popular and profitable enough, and now you want to talk your shit. And the way that he does it by cozying up to iDubbbz, who contributed immensely to, white supremacy, who also is an opportunist and trying to take advantage of the suffering of Palestinians, of the genocide of Palestinians, to rebrand Kaceytron, who couldn't give less of a shit. It's just disgusting, man. Yep. Absolutely just drama for them and not about liberal Zionism. But again, this is all like Hassan type fucking people. This is what Hassan Piker does to your brain. Disgusting, man. All right. It was on the title. I covered it. There it is. Fuck all those fools. Jeffries says not to expect them to pursue Hegseth impeachment. This is who Zoran Mamdani has endorsed. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries signaled Monday that Democrats are unlikely to pursue impeachment against Secretary of Defense. Isn't it like, sorry, Secretary? Isn't it the Secretary of War now? Pete Hegseth, over alleged follow-up strikes against boats in the Caribbean. So they're not even going to go after them for war crimes. They're not even going to go after them over war crimes. Why is it even war crimes? There's just straight up fucking like murder, right? For straight up like murdering innocent people in the Caribbean. Why it matters, impeachment has been a fraught subject for Democrats this year, with Jeffries acknowledging that Republicans' control of both chambers of Congress makes any impeachment effort virtually dead on arrival. It doesn't fucking matter, should still fucking do it. If you're gonna play this fucking electoral game, do something. Republicans will never allow articles of impeachment to be brought to the floor of the House of Representatives, and we know that's the case, Jeffries said at a press conference Monday. And that should stop you to hold these people accountable. Why? The real reason is they don't want anyone bringing up shit to the next Democratic president. Donald Trump will order them not to do it, he added. Driving the news, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt denied Monday that Hegseth was the one who ordered a second strike on an alleged Venezuelan drug boat on September 2nd to take out survivors of an earlier strike. They want no fucking evidence. We talked about this before. They want no survivors to tell their story. The Washington Post reported last week that Hegseth's directive, well, I know this is a misspelling, right? Washington Post reported last week that Hegseth's directive in the operation was, in the words of one anonymous source, to kill everybody, which led a military commander to order a second strike. Leavitt said Hegseth authorized Admiral Frank Bradley to conduct this kinetic, the whitewashing of murder, bro. To conduct these kinetic strikes, he worked well within his authority and the law. So why would we question it, huh, Hakeem? Well, they're saying the White House is lying, but that's no surprise, Jeffrey said at his press conference when asked by Askios about Leavitt's comments. It is my understanding that Pete Hegseth, the so-called Secretary of Defense, was absolutely involved. I think he may have even recently acknowledged that because the facts are incapable of being disputed. Jeffries reiterated his past call for Hegseth to resign voluntarily. Oh, okay, by your own accord, saying he is the most unqualified Secretary of Defense in American history. I mean, thankfully he's a Secretary of War, so not really saying much there, buddy. What to watch? The top Republican. I mean, okay, did they officially change it to Secretary of War? Because if they did, I mean, is Axios thinking that they're doing something brave by not calling it that? What to watch? The top Republican and Democrats on both the House and Senate Armed Services Committee have said they plan to vigorously investigate the reporting. Jeffries leaning on those probes as the alternative to impeachment. What a fucking coward. Just normalizing, just assassinating whoever the fucking president wants. Jeffrey leaned on those probes as the alternative to impeachment, telling reporters what's on the table is a meaningful investigation, which we can hope would be bipartisan. Oh, that you're hoping would be bipartisan. But you don't hope that the impeachment will. Wow. This is updated September 2nd. Trump, U.S. killed 11 narco-terrorists in strikes off Venezuela's coast, I believe. Yeah, man. I think we read some of this, or a version of this. Right, because this was, yeah, yeah, okay, when this came out, I know we covered it. All right, we won't be able to go over the Rolling Stones article. What is it? But I do want to read it on the stream. What is it? CIA secret death squad or something like that. Oh yeah. So we'll go over this tomorrow on the stream. I'm so hungry, y'all. I'm like really, really hungry. I've only really had breakfast and y la fruta. Fuck. Is that the house one? Hold on. Okay. So I appreciate y'all being here, sticking around. We'll read this tomorrow. I'll switch up the title. We spent way more time on that Casper thing than I expected. I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you for the super chats. Go ahead and hit the like button on your way out. Hit the notification bell if you want to know when I go live. Let me know what you think about this switch up. I could go train in the mornings, run in the mornings, and then have a later stream. But let me know what y'all think. To be honest, probably not. Probably not. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Yeah, mornings is better. Yeah, I like it better too. I like it better too. Eggs and potatoes. All right. What else? The Patreon's turned on. I'm gonna make the Discord available to the $2 tier. Again, thank you for all the support. I'm learning as we go. I'm trying to be comfortable with this, but I appreciate all the support. If you can't financially support, it's all good. Please get busy in the chat. I think we have a dope chat. I think we're having a good time. Don't be scared, homies. I'm going to start doing something different with the John Trudell quote. Should I do it right now? Do we have time? I'm pretty hungry. I think I'll do it right now. I think we'll start it now. Are we doing hold on. What is the track list for this? Let's see. South of Hell's pretty good. The Beast might be the one though. Let's do that. But I don't want to play it. I want to see the because I was kind of shorthanding the. Let's see if he has it. I don't want to pull up the book. I have the collection of books. I just want the lyrics, bro. I just don't want to use Spotify. I'm not gonna lie. Like if Shazam's any better, right? Let me see here. Sorry. Let's just do this. Just give me 1 second. Why is that so hard to do? I know they have it on his website. No, I'm not doing that. I appreciate y'all dealing with me here. See if this helps. Not interested, bro. Why? Why are you doing this? And I've seen it before. One more time. I'm getting pissed. Would YouTube have it? The actual lyrics? If I go to let me see. I just can't play any of it. But I love this. Let me see. See, it doesn't have it. Trying to look up the lyrics.
Any whispers?
No, I can't play it. Huh.
Any whisper smoke?
Because I think I'll get copyright if I play it. That's a bummer. Let me go to John Trudell's website. List of works, maybe. What is he gonna have? No, it's not gonna have it. God damn it. Give me 1 second. Fuck it. Fuck it. All right. Does he have it in this? There's a lot of great fucking poems in here. I don't think he has it in this. God damn it. It's in here. All right. This will be part of the new ending of the stream. Because when I tell you that I listened to this album, when I tell you that this album saved me from becoming the anti-white Nick Fuentes, I'm not exaggerating. I listened to this album on repeat over and over. I know a lot of you dipped out. It's fine. And I was re-listening to it recently, and especially now being more comfortable identifying as an atheist. It was different, but nonetheless reminded me of why it was on repeat. And I listened to it so consistently and so repetitively. Literally, I would wake up and I would play it and repeat it. That people around me started to notice that's all I was listening to. And they would ask me, why are you listening to that? And I'm like, it's just, it's saving me right now. So this is The Beast by John Trudell. In a wisp of smoke down on the corner, there was this cat named Fortunately, talking at me from voices in his head, yelling about what storyteller said. You've got to be careful here, child. There's a beast in the promised land. There's madness you don't understand. The beast is crazed and running wild. Little boy, man, little girl, woman, no big deal, nothing personal. Your mind's another meal. Savoring the rush of you like heady wine. Feeding is what the beast is meant to do. Strange are those walls built to hide, strange to look and learn not to see. He's in the mask you put on your face, thoughts, his favorite breeding place. In the race to midnight, it's after 11. The nature of the beast is all he knows. Behind doors of hell are gates of heaven. Doors are open, but the gates are closed. Like trying to break a nasty habit, me and the beast keep going at it. Some questions helping defend my brain. Serious stuff about serious stuff. Yeah, I love you, lady, and I can't stay. Crazy as I've been is crazy as I am. Want you, baby, but I can't be your man. Can't bring myself to do us that way. In a wisp of smoke, down on the corner, there's this cat named Fortunately. Keeps yelling at me about the beast and being like the jailhouse dog. This is why I wanted this is why I didn't actually bookmark this one. It's because this version's different than the live version. So what I'm gonna have to do is write down, because it turns, I don't know why he turns it in the book or in the poem, I guess, into the kind of this lovey-dovey stuff. Nothing wrong with that, but it's just not my style when it comes to why this hit the way it did. Let me see if I go find it one more time. I mean, it doesn't even have the fucking lyrics on here, though. All right, I'm going to write them down. I'm going to have them ready next time. Check out this album if you haven't. It's fucking amazing. I'm sorry for the lingering at the end here. We're about to hit 4 hours. Anywho, hit the like, the notification bell. Remember, the Patreon now includes $2 tiers for the Discord. I'll get on that. What else? Remember what Glenn Ford said? Organize with eyes wide open. Thank you for the late stream. Yes, dude.